It was super cool.
Yeah.
I loved the one with your brother too, but it was a lot of fun to have old man.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. It was very cool.
It was, I had to drag him in here a little bit, kicking and screaming, but once I got him in here, it was,
he opened up.
It was good, man. Well, Jimmy, dude, thanks for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Jimmy Bell in the studio. Jimmy is the director of sales for a premium outdoor brand, Kovix, which their flagship product is silencers or cans for weapon systems, all calibers, or?
We do. So right now we currently have 4 silencers in the lineup, rimfire 223 and then 230 caliber silencers. Before the end of the year, we're going to be releasing 2 6.5 silencers, and we have a 46 caliber silencer coming out, and that's going to complete what's called our Badlands series of silencers.
That's badass. We're going to get into that. I want to hear all about it.
Cool. I'd love to talk about it.
Right. So, Jimmy, you were a Force Recon Marine. You were also in the National Guard. We met through a mutual friend of ours, Chris Jewell, who's going to be coming on the program soon enough. But you've got some incredible stories, man, and we're going to get into all of it. So thanks for coming on, man.
I'm excited. Glad to be here. I'm a fan of the podcast, and it always feels a little surreal, to be in the, look behind the curtain, kind of see how the sausage.
Yeah,
and
right.
So it's, I appreciate you having us up. You've been a wonderful host.
Thank you. Well, let's get right into it, man. So obviously the Marine Corps, when did you join? Why did you join? And what's the story behind there?
Well, there really was just no other option for me. I never remember wanting to do anything else. Everybody in my family is in the military, mostly all Marines. I'm named after my grandpa, James Bell. He was a retired Master Guns, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. That's actually who raised me. I grew up with my grandpa. My Uncle Jimmy's in the Marines, and my Uncle Larry's a Vietnam veteran, and my stepdad's veterans. I did have one uncle that joined the Navy, but as far back...
There's always one, right?
To the beginning, to the beginning of the Bell family, we all go to... I've never met a male Bell that was not in the military. I've never met one.
That's amazing. How rough numbers? I know even mine, off the top of my head, I'm 13, 15. Sometimes I lose count, but
they're just all of them. Every single one of them. And it's going back to our family. We came over on the part of the Virginia Charter, so in 1608, and so literally since then, everybody's gone in the military.
Wow.
So I just didn't ever remember, and I wanted to do it. I thought, I grew up around veterans. I grew up going to VFW Hall, catfish fries. I grew up just hearing all the stories, and just to me, it just seemed like a very natural progression. I do remember there was a period of time I wanted to be like an Air Force pilot. I was like, I think I'm going to go fly jets. I was like, it's going to be
probably when Top Gun came out.
Oh, super. Yeah. I was born in 81, so Top Gun was a big part,
Huge, dude.
And, but I remember, now this shows you just how, where my head was at and my level of maturity. But I remember my stepdad told a story one time. He was in during Vietnam in the Marines, and he said that he was at a bar one time, and he said there was 2 Recon Marines, and those 2 Recon Marines just kicked the shit out of everybody in the bar. He said they got back to back in the parking lot, and people just kept coming out, and they just kept. I was like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Sold.
So that's how much thought I put into it.
So it was a culture thing, right? You just grew up with it. And obviously, I can relate. It was just I was never not around it. What were some of were they all in the infantry? Was a variety of different things?
So it was a variety, mostly, honestly, the infantry. Pretty much everybody was in the infantry. My grandfather was in the infantry in the Philippines in World War II.
Oh, wow.
And then he was a combat engineer. He transitioned over to combat engineer, and he actually retired. He retired as a gunner, as a warrant officer, but he Master Guns is what he, that's what he goes by. But and then, so my stepdad, he was an engineer. Uncle Larry, infantry. Uncle Jimmy, infantry. My brother, infantry. Mostly all combat arms. We just, you might say we don't have a lot of marketable skill sets, but
sure, yeah.
we all grew up farming and ranching and doing manual labor, so that parlays into being an infantry Marine.
Did any of them ever try and talk you out of it, or kind of give you the college speech or the anything?
Oh, God, no. No. So I'm the first person in my family to ever go to college. When I got a degree, I mean, that's kind of shocking for my family. But no, nobody ever. There would have been no use trying to talk me out of it. And I will say, whenever I joined, I was in before 9/11. Joining the military really wasn't that popular. It was kind of like everybody was going to college, and then there was this group of knuckleheads. Me and my friends, we're all going to the military. It didn't, it was before GWAT, so there wasn't like this a level of prestige associated with it. It was like, oh, those are the kids that can't go to college.
It was me.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I was saying, I mean, we're one and the same, right?
And I had no delusions. Like, I knew exactly where I fit in. I mean, I was like, yeah, I'm going to the Marines. Like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no questions asked. Myself as well, right? Yeah. College was an afterthought, and I didn't want to go. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I wanted to go that I went.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's so interesting that the origin stories are always kind of very, very similar, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like, I don't want to say, it's not like we didn't have a choice. I had a ton of choices, and I'm sure you did too. But there was really only one choice for me.
That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I went to the Marines. My brother went to the Marines, was an infantry Marine. I mean, that's just what we did. Childhood was pretty typical. I grew up on a cattle ranch and really enjoyed sports and stayed busy with that. And I worked, started working really young and pretty much just bided my time until I could go to the Marines. Had to get through high school. I wasn't a great student, but I wasn't awful. I made passing grades and just wanted to check the box, get the high school diploma so I could go to boot camp.
And tell me about the ranch. We were talking about it yesterday. It's super interesting. How long has it been in the family?
So my kids are the fourth generation to live on the same piece of dirt.
Wow.
Whenever my grandfather retired, and our family is from this area where we live, he did a whole career in the Marines, and then he retired, and then came back to the area where he was raised, and bought that piece of property, and we've been lucky to keep it in the family, and it's a cool feeling, being out there raising my kids, and my in-laws actually live out there, so I was raised in like a multi-generational environment with my grandpa I live with my grandpa. He was right there, and my kids are getting to be in kind of the same situation where the grandparents are here, and it's just a cool. I feel grateful that I'm getting to raise my kids in that fashion.
I've always found Texas obviously don't have to say exactly where it is, but like the ranching culture, so foreign to me growing up here in northwestern Illinois. Yeah. When people say, okay, I maintain, the ranch, or I work the ranch, for me, I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
So it's not like farming. Farming, you're raising plants, and so everything with farming is very cyclical. There's just a real cycle with everything. With ranching, and you're dealing with animals, actually, all bets are off. You never know what's going to happen.
Really?
Well, you just know. I mean, the cows like to have their babies in the middle of winter, and you got to go out there and take care of them. And of course, it's just the maintenance of the ranch. There's mending fences, there's hauling hay, there's feeding the animals, there's fixing broken equipment, there's going to the sale, to sell the cows, all stuff like that. So it's actually kind of fun, really. It's always like an adventure. I remember I'd get up early in the morning, little dude, get up, get my boots on. I'd go hang out with my grandpa. I'm like, what are we doing today? And you just never knew what we were going to get into.
I imagine.
And he had a Willys Jeep, that he had bought.
Oh, sure,
and we'd cruise around on the ranch in the Willys Jeep, and, shooting rattlesnakes and finding lost cows and just having fun. It was a cool way to grow up.
And was it primarily cattle, or did you?
That's all we raised was cattle.
Cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to a guy whose ranch knowledge doesn't extend past Yellowstone.
Yeah. No, just cattle, and we did have a large garden. I grew up working in we had a 2-acre garden, which is actually a large garden. I know up here y'all have 1,000-acre cornfields and stuff like that, but a 2-acre family garden will keep you busy.
Oh shit, 2 acres, yeah.
Yeah,
that's legit.
It's a big garden. So yeah, grew up, had chickens and a bunch of dogs and cows.
Man, that is amazing. Because I always, not to go to the ranch, down the ranch rabbit hole super far, but it's like, I find myself going like, I'm sure there's always something to do.
Yeah, it was fun. I loved it.
And half proactive, half reactive, I would imagine.
That's what I'm saying. Like, stuff's always breaking. Whereas on the farm, everything is kind of predictable. There's a cycle to it. Whereas with the ranching, you're dealing with animals who have their own will and they make their own decisions, and they may blow through a fence. You may get kicked. You may get maimed by one of these animals. They're always tearing stuff. Cows are dumb, so they're always tearing stuff up. They're never doing what you want them to do. And then, of course, you have predator control. Whenever you have calves on the ground, coyotes try to come up, and so you're out there, managing the predators, keeping them in check.
With an operation like that, which is, I would assume, a fairly good size operation, like how many people? It was a family only, or did you guys have a crew?
Yeah. No, it was just us. But it's not. Ranching isn't as labor intensive as farming it, because it's just not the same kind of work. Like if you're plowing a 500 acre field, you're going to be out there for 3 days plowing up. Whereas with ranching, you're like, go feed the cows. Okay, that takes an hour. You're like, okay, go load the cows up. Okay, that takes an hour. Go move them over to this pasture. Okay.
Sure.
So it's not, you're never just stuck somewhere. So it's not a huge labor intensive operation. There is a lot of manual labor involved, but it's not, it doesn't take a huge group of people. It was my grandpa and his 2, grandkids. So, and we got it done. And we would occasionally hire people, if we had a big project going on, if we were building a mile of fence, he would hire local high school kids, his friends' kids.
Sure.
And, just to have more hands. And that's so if we were doing something really big, or say if we wanted to go clear out another pasture, he'd have an area where, hey, I want to plant hay in that pasture next year. Well, you got to clear it out. So, we're out there for a week or whatever, chopping down all the trees and digging up all the stumps out of the ground, getting everything ready where they can actually cultivate the field.
Wow.
But
do you remember how old you were when you left the ranch?
Yeah, so actually, this is pretty interesting. I left that environment. My mom married a guy when I was 10, so I moved from living in this very stable environment on this ranch with my grandpa to this guy who was a methamphetamine dealing biker.
Oh, no shit.
So the environment that I left, and I moved into this crazy, insane environment, literally in straight up meth dealing biker. And they had a Harley shop, so they owned a Harley shop.
Oh my God.
In our house, but it was in our house. So our house was the Harley shop called Full Circle Motorcycles, and it was just wild. Those are just wild, insane times. We was getting evicted out of houses, and dad's getting arrested, and just a wild environment.
Dude, oh my God, so was it Rumspringer? Was mom I just want to get off the ranch, or what?
No, she was into that sort of stuff. She was kind of wild herself.
Really?
Yeah. So so I never met my dad until I was 32. Because he was pretty crazy also. My mom had a type, she was into the outlaw type dudes.
Wow.
And no, they met. She was waiting tables, and he pulled up on his Harley, and she thought that was the coolest thing ever. And they had a relationship and got married. So she wasn't really wanting to run away or flee or anything. Just they established a relationship, and they fell in love and got married. Yeah.
No shit.
So I moved off this stable, structured, master gunnery sergeant grandpa, getting up every day early, working on the ranch, literally living in a Harley shop. And the motorcycle club was kind of wild too. It was the Rebel Riders Motorcycle Club. They had the Stars and Bars was their patch. Definitely not a casual type of organization. They were.
They're one percenters.
They were in it to win it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like your weekend shoppers or whatever. This was their life.
Holy shit, dude.
So that was very interesting, and I really just poured myself into athletics during that period of time, and kind of my coaches in a lot of ways were kind of like my parents. Mm-hmm. They provided a level of structure for me. really enjoyed athletics. I enjoyed the relationships. I enjoyed, my friends, all the camaraderie, and just sports in general. I mean, kids like to play sports. So, I mean, that's really what I kind of poured myself into. And I moved out of my house when I was 16. So the last day that I lived at my own house was the last day of my sophomore year of school. I came home and told my parents, like, hey, I'm moving out. Because I think y'all are nuts, and I don't want to be in this environment anymore.
Go ahead.
And I wasn't mean or disrespectful about it or anything, but it was an insane environment. And even as a kid, I knew. I was like, this is nuts.
I was gonna ask you, like, at 10 years old, like, you were cognizant enough to be like, wait, the contrast was that stark, right? Obviously, where you're like,
oh, for sure.
I'm not sure if I'm down with this or not, because I could see it easily going the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being like, okay, maybe I think this shit is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just didn't. I thought, and again, I'm not trying to judge anybody. Everybody makes their own choices that they're comfortable with. But it wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted for myself. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm not really that into it. I think this is kind of nuts. I mean, I went to 5 high schools. I went to 13 different schools, so I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah, when I was 16, I moved out, got an apartment, and had a job, and played football and basketball, and I did my junior and senior year in Hico, where I live now, in the town that I live now, and yeah, then went off to the Marines. Graduated, went off to the Marines. And my parents were like, oh, you'll be back. And I was like, no, I won't.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
What year was it that you enlisted?
So I was a member of the delayed entry program, which, as you know, it's a really cool program that the Marine offers, where they let you join your junior year, so you can get like MEPS knocked out, and you get a year of reserve time. And I think they might give you like a merit, maybe PFC or something like that. I don't know. They do something. I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
dude.
but it's something. There's perks to doing it, and you get to go to the poolee functions and things like that. So I joined my junior summer, July, and then went through high school. I graduated 2001, and I mean, I wanted to like leave as soon as possible. I told my recruiter, I was like, I want to walk off the stage and I want to walk onto the bus.
Same.
I mean, I was like, get me out of here. And not that I hated where I was at. I was just ready to get this show on the road. It's all I had been thinking about. I was training for it. I already had my hair buzzed. I mean, I was like ready to go. So I think I graduated May 28th, and I think I shipped off to boot camp like July 1st or 2nd or something like that.
Yeah, not that much. Yeah. My wife and I always argue, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I left the same day. She goes, it was the day after. I don't remember.
Yeah.
To
it
me,
was right. Yeah, it was all
quick as I could.
As soon as I could. And I remember I was actually at MEPS doing, your whatever, the duck walks and the piss tests and the whatever they have you doing. And the guy tried telling me, he's like, oh, you wanted to ship out early, so we can't give you infantry. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, like, there's no infantry slots coming up, for the School of Infantry at the time that you're going to be getting out of boot camp. So, we need you to pick a different MOS. And I was like, I will leave right now. I was like, I'm not joining the Marines and not being in the infantry. I was like, what you're saying to me makes no sense.
Inconceivable.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. And I was like, I will leave. I will walk out of this building. I will leave right now. And they're like, oh, okay. We'll see what we can do. Now, of course, I wasn't a Marine yet, so I was afforded the opportunity to talk to them like that. Whereas if
they were like, shit, this one read the contract.
Yeah. I'm not a Marine. I can do whatever I want. And I was aware of that, but I just thought, everyone was like, yeah, right, dude. Like, you're going to find me a spot all I want to do is be in the infantry and the Marines. Like, I'm not asking for the moon here.
Right.
And yeah, so whatever. She went off to boot camp. And
so they just made you wait a couple days?
No, I actually, kind of a weird deal. No, I shipped off, went right to boot camp. Boot camp, as you know, total trip. So much different from what I thought it would be like.
Can I? Yeah, how so?
Well, I had a very clear vision of like, okay, I'm joining this like blue collar death cult. I'm joining this like warrior organization. was like, I'm going to get off the bus and they're going to hand me a K-bar and start teaching us karate in the parking lot. Like, that's like, I was like, all right, here we like, let's go. And that's what I had been training for and mentally, getting ready for. And the first week of boot camp, we're in like reception for a whole week, doing nothing but like getting shots and getting all your gear issued to you. And I'm like, okay, like the training will start. And then we had guides and squad leaders, and like they took these like kids that were in ROTC in high school and made them our guides and squad leaders. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I was actually in like a very unwell state of mind. I was I should have been a little bit more resilient, but I was like shattered. I was like, I can't believe what's happening to me right now. Like all this marching around, all the drill and ceremony, all the formations. I was like, all right, this is not what I thought I was getting myself into.
Really?
And then training picked up. And I will say what I think really saved me in boot camp was T2, training day 2, I got made the guide. And I ended up being the guide all the way through boot camp, which I'm actually really proud of because that was not easy.
Yeah, that's a good run.
Yeah, that's not easy to get that spot and hold it the whole time. And then
almost unheard of.
Then I was the honor graduate, so I got graduated Lance Corporal, and but being the guide, what that did for me, it gave me like freedom of movement. It allowed me to like move around the environment a little bit. It gave me like a little bit access to a little more conversations with the drill instructors.
100%.
It gave me kind of an idea, like, and I felt like I was like, okay, I'm moving the herd. Like I'm not just one of the numbers just getting like marched around.
You almost feel closer to the drill instructors than you do the right. You occupy that gray space.
And for me, I needed that. I needed some sort, and I don't know if it was my ego. I don't know if it was just my personality. I needed that like extra bit of responsibility. I needed to feel like, okay, so I could occupy my time that 13 weeks with this level of responsibility that I had. And it was great. And there were perks to it too. Like I gave myself fire watch every single night, but I would always do the last hour. So like I would get up an hour before everybody and all my gear would be squared away. And like, so I never had to deal with like the mayhem and the madness in the morning. But yeah, it was a lot different than what I thought it would be like. And like, I just, and maybe I didn't handle it well, but like I didn't respect a lot of my drill instructors. I didn't like the idea of just like the way they treated people and the way they were insulting people. And I hated the whole like demeaning element of it. Like, like referring to yourself in the third person, like this recruit requests permission to speak to senior drill instructor, staff sergeant, like speak pig. This recruit requests permission to make a heck. I don't know. I just didn't deal with that like demeaning nature of it very well.
The slow delusion of the identity of self, right?
Yeah,
like,
and again, the system is set up to strip you of your identity and make a Marine, and they're really good at it. I'm just saying, I personally had a problem, and I'm not saying that they should change it. Obviously, they've been doing something right for 250 years. They don't need Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli coming in here and telling them to this is what you need to do.
You know what I would do? Yeah.
But I will say, I didn't handle it that great. And I mean, I got in some fights and broke a kid's nose one time in the chow hall and whatever. Like almost started a race riot one time.
Oh,
naturally.
Sure.
I was kind of a tough kid. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I was again just like I was just like high school. I was just ready to get done with boot camp. I was like ready to get done with this. Graduated September 7th, and I had got selected for this really weird program, and I don't know if they did this with you guys, but like. There was this thing called Yankee White.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, yep. And they would take like some kids that were going to the infantry, and it was like these weird requirements that you had to meet. Like it was height requirements, weight requirements.
Yep.
And it's the 8th and I. It's the kids they send to 8th and I.
Yeah, which is basically for the listeners like the White House Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah, Camp David, the White House. Yep.
And so, I felt kind of special about that. I was like, oh, and graduating undergraduate was really cool. Like my parents got all this like preferential treatment, and I didn't tell anybody. So because I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to tell my family that I was a guide or anything like that. So they showed up to graduation and this special spot to graduate. So there at the end, it all kind of came together for me, and I lost a bit of my like resentment that I was harboring. And they're like, yeah, you're going to do this Yankee White thing. I'm like, well, okay, I literally have no clue what that is, but, all right. Go home. I graduate September 7th. I'm home, and then boom, 9/11 happens while I'm home on boot camp leave.
No shit.
And I'll never forget, just like nobody ever forgets, but I had stayed up doing a bunch of acid the night before. And
yeah, there you go.
over at my homie's house. And so I was a little groggy that morning, but I don't know why. But I remember my friend's mom, she goes, they're bombing New York City. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Lynn? And I wander in there into the living room, and just like everybody else,
not what you want to hear the morning after a good acid trip.
Yeah. You see it all just like unfolding, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm like,
this is good acid.
Yeah. And I was like so belt fed, so motard. I was like, I have to get back. Like, they need Recruit Bell to go save the day.
Sure.
So, I like call, the School of Infantry. I'm like, hey guys, I'm on leave on orders. I was like,
where do you need me?
I need to come back. And they're like, calm down, Captain America. they're like, dude, nobody knows what's going on.
I'm here, boys.
Yeah, I know. I thought that I was actually doing something. And I'll never forget the dude was like, calm down, Captain America. So whatever, finish my boot leave or whatever, and I go to the School of Infantry, and I check in, and I remember that dude, Sergeant Diaz. He's like, "You're that dude that called up here, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why did you do it?" He's like, "What did you think you were gonna do?" I was like, "Well, I didn't know." I was like, "I just, dude, I'm in the Marines. I need to go do Marine Corps stuff." He's like, "So you want some responsibility?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess." And he's like, "You're a Lance Corporal." He's like, "Were you a super scroot?" I'm like, well, what's a super scroot? He's like, this recruit, so they call me the super scroot. Just giving me a hard time. He goes, okay, well, you're going to be in charge of reception. He's like, we don't have a school of, infantry. So this is how my timeline kind of got messed up. So I had like landed between classes. So I had to wait for the next class to pick up. So I was in charge. I got to be in charge of reception at the School of Infantry, which honestly was kind of cool because there's about 300 Marines that, every day, get them in formation, you do the accountability drills for everybody, march everybody to chow 3 times a day, 1,600 have final formation, cut everybody loose, be in charge of field days. And again, none of that's glorious, but like, I mean, I want to say like being a guide was like kind of like a leadership experience, but you're not, I don't know that you're really exercising a lot of leadership. You're more driving, I called, you're moving the herd. You're pushing the herd.
Yeah, it's leadership by example at best.
Yeah. Whereas actually in the School of Infantry, I was like, oh, I'm in charge of these people. I was like, oh, I got to make sure they get their food. I got to make sure that they get their gear. I got to make sure they're where they're supposed to be. I got to make sure, if somebody's missing, I got to go tell someone about it. So I thought that was kind of cool. I did that for 9 weeks. And while I was doing that, at the same time, I was getting interviewed for that Yankee White thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Yankee White deal, you got to be like AJ squared away.
Yep.
And they had about like 3 conversations with me, and they were like, "We don't think we want you at anywhere near the White House." I was a little rough around the edges.
I had a very similar story.
Yeah. And I wasn't like, I really didn't want to go. I thought it was cool, and I was like flattered that they were asking me about it. But like they were like, so like, tell me like some stories about like, they're like, you like, you did what? Like, how were you raised? Like they could just tell right away that I was just not Yankee White material.
Yeah.
I was not 8th and 9 material.
Yeah.
And it probably would have ruined my career if I would have got put into a situation like that at a young age.
It's and not to be self-indulgent, but I had a similar experience where my recruiter in the delayed entry program, and I'll never forget the conversation because it was me, the recruiter, and my parents, as we were like signing the paperwork. And he knew I wanted to be in the infantry. And he was like, he'd be a good candidate for 8th and I, like the height, the weight, the whatever. And of course I want, I'm like, what is that?
What is
that? And of course he kind of gave me the once over the world. And I did some, research, and I was like, that looks cool. But, and my father, having spent time in the Marine Corps, he was like, yeah, that's not what you want, and
you're not built for that.
Yeah. He's like, it's just, he goes, you'd be great at it or whatever, but it's not what you're looking for. He, my old man knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't want to say I dodged a bullet because obviously it would have been a very cool experience.
For sure.
But I'm also glad I didn't do it, if that makes sense.
I have a ton of respect for those guys, and it's very impressive. And like, it's one of the best recruiting campaigns that the Marine Corps has. Is all the guys in the Yankee White, the 8th and 9 get. It's beautiful what they do, and just not for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
So I again dodged a bullet
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did it's School of Infantry, and it was super fun, and it was like Friday. And I knew, like, I didn't know exactly how the whole recon thing was going to work out, but I already knew that I wanted to do it. But they're like, okay, you got to go get into the infantry, and then you got to go, like, take an indoc somewhere. And luckily, my infantry class, whatever, was offering an indoc at SOI.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was like, this dude just showed up on a Friday, and he was like, if any of you pussies want to be in recon, be at the pool at San Mateo at 05 tomorrow. And I was like, cool. I was like, I'm one of those guys. So yeah, we went there, showed up at the pool, and like there was like 75 of a whole gaggle of kids.
Yep.
Wanted to be recon Marines, and there was like 10 of us left when they turned us loose at 6 o'clock that evening, and all 10 of us got orders to go to RMAT basically, and so that's a Reconnaissance Marines Awaiting Training, and that was cool. That was in Virginia Beach, and here's how, again, I had all of these ideas in my head, and they were all so wrong. So whenever, I'm like, all right, I'm going to recon school. So like whenever they picked us up from the airport on the bus, here's how dumb I was. I memorized the route from the airport to the Little Creek. Because I just knew when we got off, they were going to be like, how'd we get here? Like, what exit did you take? What, like, I just knew, like, again, like, this isn't spook stuff. You're basically going to be in the infantry, but just with more tools and training and equipment. Like,
yeah.
Like, again, like I was just so insane.
Where do you think? Was it the movies, or where do you think you generated those misconceptions?
Honestly, I think a lot of it just kind of came from like my imagination of like what I wanted to be involved in. Because my plan, I wanted to go to the Marines, and then I wanted to go to the CIA. And so I always looked at like myself, like I was preparing myself for that.
Are you sure we're not related?
Yeah. Because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the stuff, it wasn't fed to me from anywhere. I think I was just kind of grasping at straws and like creating a situation that I wanted it to be. And it just wasn't that. You're an RMAT. You're gonna get your ass kicked for 2 months.
You're gonna get hazed, and drowned, and
that's it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But that was super fun for me. I mean, I enjoyed all that stuff. It was actually really cold, believe it or not. I got there in October, and our RMAT class graduated in January. Super cold.
Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, and all those instructors that teach like RMAT or RIP or whatever, they're all a bunch of like sadists and masochists. I mean, their whole goal is to just like hurt you. But I liked it. I will say one very interesting thing that occurred to me, and it's something that's really stuck with me, is I made a lot of like assumptions about people, like. Some of my friends, some of the guys that I had palled up with at School of Infantry, studs, big, strong, good looking, like athletic. I'm like, oh, that guy's obviously going to make it. And I was just shocked whenever like these guys that I, was palling around with, and they were my buddies, and like they're quitting. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, and then you got the 150-pound kid over here who, who's just as tough as can be, and we're carrying the same amount of weight in our backpack. I'm like, damn, this kid's tough,
hard as nails. Yeah.
And I really learned, and it honestly stuck with me. I was like, it's not up to you what other people can do. Like, you can think all you want, you think whatever you want, but it's up to them, and you don't know what people are capable of. And and that's a good lesson to learn at a very young age, is to don't make assumptions about people. Don't,
Yeah, you don't know.
You do not know. And people will surprise you.
Yeah.
People will disappoint you, and they will surprise you with how amazing they are, and they'll disappoint you with how awful they can be. But you don't know what they're going to do.
I agree, man. I had some similar experiences, right? So when I checked into the School of Infantry, we were a summer class, so man, I think we were only like receiving for like a day or two. And when I showed up, I was like, "Hey, man, when's the recon in, Doc?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "It was last week."
Missed it.
And I was like, "Fuck," you know what I mean? I go, "When's the next one?" They're like, "Isn't going to be one." I was like, "God damn it," I'm like, "Well, we'll circle back to that," you know what I mean? But I'm almost glad that it happened that way because my preconceived notions were like I didn't think I was going to make it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go try.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as I was concerned, like they made those guys in a lab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was superhuman, or whatever, and then come to find out it's, hey, you just got to be a sucker for punishment, and not quit.
Yeah. Just don't quit.
Yeah.
Literally, just don't quit.
Just don't quit.
Learn how to swim and don't quit.
Right. Yeah. And if you die, they'll bring you back. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
They actually can't kill you.
Yeah. You think they can, or they're gonna.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
they're not allowed to kill you.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. Yeah. They're it's funny how like things kind of happen, in their own way and seem to kind of work out, right?
Yeah.
Because God knows I could have been so psyched out. I could have went to that had I shown up 3 days before or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I could have went there and fail. Oh, I can't, you know what I mean? I can't do this. You know what I mean? Or whatever. For whatever reason, people quit. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that it happened the way that it did, right? Yeah, it was interesting to see, like you said, and even by the time I got there, much to your point, like you just never know who's going to be successful and who's not, at least by looking at them.
Yeah, by looking at them.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't. And again, that was a good lesson to learn at a young age, and it's really served me well. In my, business life and personal life, and just let people show up and let them show you who they are. They'll show you. And, learn that. Going through RMAT.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was cool. And then go to the schoolhouse, obviously. And I loved all of it. Like I never felt out of place. I never felt intimidated. I just wanted to be a recon Marine. I thought it was so cool. Like I was like, I can't believe I'm getting to do this. Right? Like, So every day I would just like get up and they're like, we had a whiteboard and they're like, be here at, 7:00 in the morning. Here's the gear you have to bring. And like, I would get my gear, be all squared away, and showed up and did whatever they wanted me to do. And I loved it.
Was it 10 weeks back then? 13 weeks.
Yeah.
What did you find to be the most challenging? So the guy that's sitting on the lobby right now said to me one time, who I consider a mentor, right? I think we both do. He said to me one time, he goes, in this business, something is going to get the best of you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter whether it's CQB or close quarters battles in the shooting package or the, Hearstmaster, like some aspect of this job.
Yeah.
Is going to get the best of you.
Yeah.
And that sat with me. You know what I mean? Like nobody aces all this shit. You're going to struggle with something.
Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, what was probably the most challenging aspect of that initial amphibious reconnaissance school training that you went through?
Honestly, for me, it was my lack of maturity. I was a total libo risk. I mean, I was wild, dude. I mean, going out in town on the weekends and like, I don't want to disparage the organization, but I was definitely doing things that, would definitely get me kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, dragging my butt into, back in on Sunday evening and, getting all my stuff together. I was okay if I was in the environment. But if I was like left to my own devices, and I had a friend who was nuts, who was just like me, he was wild. And so the instructors, they were always just kind of disappointed in me. They were always just like, dude, what is wrong with you? And they'd always say, if you're going to be dumb, you better be hard.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And again, I was pretty dumb. So, I had to be, luckily I was pretty hard. But there was just always like an underlying element of like, Just like, what is wrong with you? Like, you know, like get it together. And like I think they knew that like I would grow up at some point, or I think they wanted me to like just snap out of it and just be more mature and be more professional. So that, you know, and you know when you're screwing up, you know whenever you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you know you're inside, you know, you're like, oh geez, I probably didn't handle that as good as I could have. In terms of like the academics, so I never failed any of the tests. PT was always really super easy for me. Swimming, I was in McQuist, even in boot camp I got McQuist, so swimming wasn't really a problem. Really, yeah, it was just lack of maturity.
Yeah, it was just the idle time.
Yeah. It was just, and you know, it's embarrassing to say that, but I mean, it's, you know, you can't improve if you don't, you know, realize certain things about you realize your shortcomings, and it was a mess. But you know, the instructors were all super cool to me. They liked me. I mean, I had a good personality, and I kind of took it all in stride. I didn't take myself too seriously, and they knew, like, they would give me a hard time. They'd be like, are you retarded? Are you literally retarded? Like, what is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Literally, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
They're like, dude, you're gonna have a great career if you just get your head in the game.
Yeah.
So like, they wanted me to succeed. Like, they had my back. So I never felt like because sometimes people do get singled out. I mean, they can make you quit. They can ruin your day. If they decide they don't want you in the community, they don't want you in the club. I mean, they're the gatekeepers.
Yep.
But I never felt like they were doing that. I always felt like they were kind of dragging me along, like, come on, dumbass, like, you know, do it the right way. And it did help me up, you know, and I actually read my, you know, they write you a little letter, right? That goes to your command when you graduate. I'm sure you being an instructor, you probably are familiar with that, I guess. But,
I didn't have the same experience, but go ahead. Or if I did, I didn't know
and
it.
so I like looked at my files and like read what they wrote about me, and they're like, said name Marine is a bull, and will drive on like one, but he needs strong leadership. They're like, put whoever your team leader of the year was, like, put him in that team. So I get to 3rd Recon Battalion, and I just get the biggest, most hardcore asshole of a team leader. So he was like the Chris Jewell of 3rd Recon. This guy named Jimmy Smith. He's team leader of the year all the time.
I'm familiar.
Great guy. And honestly, like, I needed a team leader like that. You know, I needed someone like that to be my first team leader. But, you know, you get to choose your duty stations or whatever. And I was like, I want to go to Okinawa. You know, I want to go see some stuff. And I remember I showed up to 3rd Recon Battalion, and I was like, okay, it's getting pretty cool now. Like, you know, walking through the hooches, and you get your little wall locker, and you're getting all your gear, and I was like, okay, it's all coming together. Like, I'm a Recon Marine now.
Yeah,
like,
I'm here.
I'm here. Like, this is going to be fun. And we're like checking into our unit, and this guy named his name is John Croft. Yep. He calls him Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
He walked up to me. First thing anybody said to me at 3rd Recon, he's like, do you know where the fuck you're at? And just looked me right in the eyes. I was like, Camp Schwab? Like,
I'm Ron Burgundy? Yeah.
He goes, you're at the tip of the fucking spear. Don't you forget it. He just like walked off, and I was like, badass.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't even exactly know what that means, but
it sounds rad.
It sounds rad. Yeah. and I didn't know exactly what it meant. Like, oh yeah, this is MAR 4, you know, Pacific Command. Like, we're out here in the tip of the spear, you know, because this is before Iraq. So like, you know, going on a MEU was like the coolest thing you could do. That was real world. You know, oh, we're gonna do a real world mission. Oh, we're going on MEUs. So like, that was the coolest thing you could do in the Marines back then.
Yeah, and for the audience sake, the MEU stands for Marine Expeditionary Unit. It's the ARG, or the ships that float around that there's a contingency of Marines on, and they're always out on rotation. So if you're wondering what MEU stands for, that's it. And it is like, I did the 31st twice. Yeah. Not successfully the second time, but that's a story unto itself. Yeah, it's I mean, that's the only show in town if there's no active conflict going on.
Yeah. Super cool though. You know, showed up 3rd Recon, loved it. Loved being a Recon Marine. You know, I did like I was doing great. You know, like I got to be the point man in my first team, which I thought was like super cool that they like trusted me with that. I was the slack man, and we're out on like our second or third patrol. And Jimmy Smith, you know, we're like out on patrol. And I mean, anytime we would stop, and I mean, I was like hyper vigilant. I was always like looking at my map and always like, okay, I'm gonna have this all figured out. He came back to me. He's like, point to where we're at on this map, and I was like, we're right there. And like knew exactly where we're at. He's like, come with me. We walked up to the front, and I want to throw my friend under the bus. His name is Cody. He's like, Cody, you're fired. You're the slack man now.
Like, fuck.
And Jimmy Smith was like, don't fuck this up. I was like, I won't. He's like, I don't have time to worry about navigation. He's like, I've got all this other stuff going on. He's like, I need you to be able to take us to where we need to go. I'm like, dude, I got you. So got to be the point man, which I thought was like, dude, being a point man at 3rd Recon, in the jungle.
In the jungle, it's no joke.
And
dude.
I grew up, you know, watching all the Vietnam movies. I mean, like, remember the show China Beach?
Oh, yeah.
When we were kids? Paint It Black was the theme song. And, like, I felt like I was, like, in that.
It.
Yes.
In it.
And I was like, oh, this is heaven.
Yeah.
Like, this couldn't be better.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. And
I was the same way, dude. I was the same way. It was like, hey, this isn't pretend.
Oh,
this is for real.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it always struck me odd to where some people, like maybe I was the weird one, right? Like some people didn't think that. They were just like, fuck, man, this sucks. We're out in this jungle. And, you know, like I fucking loved it, dude.
Same.
Loved it.
And I didn't understand, like, people would complain about it. People would be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, you see this freaking badass gun I have right now? And, like, all this, like, cool gear that they gave me. And, like, we got this cool mission. We got to, you know, hike, you know, 11 miles through the jungle to some village and take some pictures of it and send them back. Like, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, super rad.
Yeah, I thought it was super fun. And then, you know, rocking along, and they ended up, like, making me an ATL. So, like, I had been in the Marine Corps for 9 months, and I picked up corporal, meritorious corporal. I had gained every rank meritoriously. Mm-hmm. I was in for 9 months, meritorious corporal, and I was an ATL at 3rd Recon. And I was like...
Assistant team leader is ATL assistant team leader is pretty big deal.
It is. I mean, it truly is. Mm-hmm. And... I mean, I was walking on water. I was like, I felt like my whole life had like led up to like, I was like, this is perfect. Like I couldn't ask for anything better.
Were you still fucking raising hell out in town?
Man, I was, but not that bad. Once I actually got to my unit, it calmed way down, partially because the team leaders will just kick the shit out of you. Yeah. Like you just can't, they won't. If you want to, like, they know everything about you. They know what you're doing. They know where you're going. They own you. And
it's a zero fuck up environment over there.
It's zero tolerance.
Zero fuck up.
And they just had a way, especially my team leader, he understood how to communicate with me. Like, he understood, like, I was kind of a knucklehead. He knew, you know, he's like, hey, like, this will all go away.
Yep.
Yeah. It'll all be
You will
gone.
be in the 3 shop or the boat locker for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, he's like, nobody wants a shitbag in their team. Like, I'm not going to put up with it. And really just kind of put the fear of God into me. Mm-hmm. Now I say that, and I did end up getting, I mean, we can get into it later, but I did end up getting busted down 2 times in Okinawa.
It happens.
Because I did kind of lose my way. And then once I got busted down the first time, kind of had a chip on my shoulder. A few months later, got busted down again. So I did. It was still in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did.
Have a flare up every now and again.
A flare up every now and then.
Yeah. Have a little shitbag flare up.
My actual personality would actually leak out.
Yeah.
But no, Okinawa was great. Got to do all these cool Philippine deployments. You know, going down to the Philippines all the time. You know, went to basically every country in Asia. You know, did Cobra Gold in Thailand, and you know, again doing the MEU. You know, you visit everywhere on the MEUs. Had some really funny stories, and honestly, it really set me up for success because, you know, I got to go through two shooting packages. I got to do a MEU. I got to do multiple Philippines deployments. I got to do. We got stood up for like a non-combatant evacuation from India and Pakistan. We're hating on each other, and so we ended up not doing it, but just going through the workup, through the train up of everything. Got to go to breacher school. Got to go to ground sensor surveillance school.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep. Little scamp platoon.
Yep.
So really, all of that really set me up for a lot of success whenever when I ended up going to Second Force and actually ended up deploying to combat. But third Recon was great.
It is a good, and I know like
it was great.
If you're and I can see now, having done it twice, having done Oki twice, right? I can see the unequivocal benefits of going there as a young Recon Marine. No better place. Right?
I used to say all baby Recon Marines should go to third.
Should go,
for
right?
For 2 years.
Yep, absolutely. You should just check that box, especially if it's your first 2 years, right? And then, but going there as an E6,
that sounds terrible.
It was not cool.
No, that sounds awful.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't make it any better on several fronts, right? But I went there at a weird time. Like, I'm not talking shit on the unit whatsoever. In fact, the current CO of the unit, or battalion commander of the unit right now, was my platoon commander when I was there. And he is a great dude, yada yada yada. But anyways, enough about me, right?
Yeah. Third's a trip though. It can be very taxing.
Right.
I was lucky in that no family. I was young. I had nothing going on. So perfect environment. It's the reconnaissance experience, like distilled to its like core. Mm-hmm. It's like, there's the ocean, there's the jungle. Like, we're here to train.
And man, when I got there, I was like, no different than you. Like, oh, okay, I finally got here. Mm-hmm. It took me 7 years into my, 7-8 years into my tenure. So it took me a long time to eventually land there, right? And so I'm like, okay, now we're here. And I can remember having a conversation with the company gunny when I first showed up, because I was like, hey man, and he's like, what are your concerns? I go, honestly, I'm just concerned of keeping up. Like, keeping up with the rest of the Marines, and he was like, keeping up. He's like, dude, you're a fucking sniper. He's like, you're this, you're that. He goes, you're going to crush this shit. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel better. I was like, but what do I need to do? Like, I haven't been a platoon sergeant before, right? And, talk about a zero fuck up, you know what I mean?
That's a lot of responsibility.
It was, other than, hey, you'll figure it out.
That's
I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
And I super young platoon. They were great, but it was just a very, very strange time, because you had all the efforts of the MEU, and anyone that wasn't on the MEU was kind of in limbo, and you still had Iraq and Afghanistan going on. And so it was a little bit of a ghost town, there wasn't a lot of people there. So you always had like this feeling of kind of emptiness, because it was almost like a skeleton crew. And I can remember him saying one time, I'm like, what's the number one thing I need to be doing with my Marines? And he looked at me and he goes, other than training them? And I was like, well, yeah. He goes, you need to march them to chow. And I was like, march them to chow. I go,
that's why we all want to join Recon.
These are Recon Marines and Force Recon Marines, right? And he's like, yeah. He goes, march them to chow. I was like, I'm not going to do that.
That's a good way for them to hate me.
It was so strange. You know what I mean? It was so strange, and to this day, I don't know if he was fucking with me, or kind of trying to set me up for, like, I was like, march them to chow. Like, I haven't marched to chow since I was
in School of Infantry,
right? Yeah. So it was bizarre. I tried to make the best of it, obviously, but yeah, super, super, a very beneficial place if you're there at the right time, right, and at the right rank. And it sounds like you were.
It was great. And, our battalion commander at that time was a guy named George Bristol.
Yep.
And I was always really lucky at, like, certain points in my career, and then even on, throughout my life. Like, how mentors kind of find you sometimes?
Sure.
Like, they always say, seek out mentorship, seek out mentor. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know what that means. But, like, mature adult men would, like, sometimes adopt me in a way.
You sure?
And be like, all right, come here, dummy. Like, I'm gonna show you how to do this. And I always recognized what was occurring, and I always just kind of latched onto it. And the guy was great to me. He was so cool and I was like, why is this guy even talking to me? Like, this guy's like this famous Recon Marine. He's our battalion commander, for one.
Well, because he saw something in you.
Well, I get, but I just deeply appreciated it. And so I got a lot of really good mentorship. Had great platoon sergeants that also kind of guided me, and they were always still gave me advice that I heed to this day.
Sure.
Really, I mean, it was great, and I was put in some situations where I got to develop a little bit of self-confidence. Like, we'd have some things happen on some deployments or whatever, and and I would be put in situations, and I would get to see like how I would respond, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right, I think I got this. Like, I think I can trust my own instincts. Like, I can trust my own judgments. A lot of times you're out there in the jungle and like you don't know, like you're trying to make a decision with incomplete information, and so and if you do that a few times and you make the right decision, you start to trust your own instincts. You start to trust your own judgment. And again, we were really busy training all the time, doing stuff all the time. And again, I got put in several situations where I was in a position to make some decisions. And I don't know, I was like, I make good choices. Like, I don't know. I started like really trusting myself, and that level of like self-confidence helped me out a lot. But also, again, those decisions were all based in like, it wasn't me being like some sort of like soothsayer or mind reader or like uber talented. It was just me literally just relying on my training. Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. And like, okay, I get this information. You're given like a matrix through which to make these decisions. You're given a framework to hang your thoughts on. And my brain really flourished in that sort of an environment. So it was cool.
Yeah, because it's rare, and I'm going to be careful when I say this. It's a lot of it is off script, but at the same time, it's not. You know what I mean? Like the script is there if you've studied it, right? And there's kind of an Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie course of action. And so I understand what you're saying, but very rarely are we in kind of quote unquote uncharted territory. You know, like all of this has been done before. Like, let's just hope I make the best out of that Alpha, Bravo, Charlie kind of course of action, right?
And my brain worked like that. And I always had the contingency, and I had the contingency for the contingency, and I would rely on that. So like, I remember when I was first exposed to the concept of the immediate action drill, and I was like, oh, I love the idea of this. So like, so if this, then this.
Then that,
Yeah, it's like, okay, so if this occurs, the action to be immediately taken is this. And like, I would just gobble that stuff up because I'm like, that's what's going to save your life. That literally, and I mean, I would memorize all that stuff. I would practice all of it. I was like, oh, this is my time to shine. Like, don't ask me to do an Australian peel.
Yeah,
like,
watch me work. Get ready to live. You're gonna see perfection.
And again, this is honestly kind of mundane stuff, but I fully embraced it. Loved all of it.
Oh yeah, me too. Almost to the, if there was a too far, I was probably right up to the too far, if not over it in some, you know what I mean? Like,
I believe it.
I couldn't
get enough of it.
It couldn't, right. And I couldn't turn it off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not even trying to sound ridiculous when I say that. Like,
I get it.
That was my identity, you know? And I think that that serves you well in that capacity, right? Until it doesn't. Right.
And I ran up against that as well, getting out. But yeah, third was great. And then I had orders to first force, but they pulled my orders the second time I got busted down. They're like, we're not going to send you to first force where you can like go and embarrass yourself, and embarrass our community. And I was just like, oh God, this is terrible. Like,
we gotta hear it.
Well, okay, so we were in Sasebo, Japan, doing like dive ops or whatever. And we had been like successful, like we did a good job. The MU commander's like, oh, you guys are the best thing since sliced bread, And our platoon commander, platoon sergeant were all like very happy, like, oh, you boys did a good job. So we're gonna have a party. And they went out and rented a bar. And so it was like open bar, like whatever you want. Like they paid the bar to like, it was just our bar for that night. I'm so ridiculous. So
I can't wait.
We're going back to the ship or whatever. We had a curfew, and we're going back to the ship. And I remember I'm riding in this cab, and I stuck my hand in the seat, between the seat and the crack of the seat, and I felt a wallet. I was like, what? And I opened the wallet, and there was like $300 worth of yen in this wallet. And I just took that money out and just threw the wallet down inside the cab. Very, very chivalrous of me. And we got back to the ship, and I didn't go on the ship. I just turned right back around, got another cab, and went right back out to town with my $300. And I took that money and I went back to that same bar where we had that party, and I told that dude, I was like, look, I'll give you all this money, but I was like, I want this bar to be mine for 2 hours for whoever I can get in here. And the guy was like, cool, whatever. Give him and then I go outside and just start recruiting people. I'm like, hey, free booze.
Open
like
bar.
we're having a party, open bar, jukebox kicking, and they're like, okay. So like next thing you know, like it's basically like a riot in this bar.
Sure.
Because it's free alcohol. And again, it was one thing to have our platoon in there because we all knew each other. We all had relationships with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was recruiting whoever, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. I was just like, come on in.
Yep.
And it got a little unwieldy. Whatever. There was some fights and stuff going on. It was nothing too crazy, but there was like a tension. There was like an element of like tension in the air. And
yeah. It's like I was there.
Yeah. And so me, like some of that tension or angst, some of that youthful energy was still like inside me a little bit when I left. And this is awful. This is a terrible story. So I somehow ended up getting into an argument with my cab driver. Like, I don't know how, but somehow from that bar to the ship, I ended up getting into an argument with that cab driver. Don't ask me how. Somehow I ended up on top of this guy's cab, and I'm just like jumping up and down on this vehicle. And like those like little vehicles, I mean, I was like 230 pounds. I mean, it was like crushing.
Fucking this guy's car up. Yeah.
Yeah. Awful, right? I mean, terrible. I'm not proud of it. It's a ridiculous story. Shore Patrol sees me.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, Marine.
We got one.
And I turn and look. I'm like, oh, I'm not sticking around for any of this. I go to jump off the car and run away. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be gone. I mean, I was like a linebacker and a running back in high school. Like, these people are not going to catch me. I jump off the car. One foot hits the hood, and I'm just going to hit the ground and be gone. No, my feet came out from underneath me. And I'm like 4 feet off the ground, like parallel to the deck. And I was like, when am I going to fall? Like, when is gravity actually going to set in and firmly plant my fat ass on the ground? And so I fucking, boom, hit the ground. They're on top of me. I mean, they're, kneeing my back, like, oh, you're going to hell, devil dog. We got your ass now. So they freaking,
Yeah, you're going to walk the fucking plank after what we just saw you do.
They're like, oh, yeah, they might as well have caught Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
They load me up in the car. They take me back. Again, and I remember this dude's name. I don't want to throw him under the bus. He was an officer. And we're at the edge of the pier, and they're talking to the Navy dudes, the Navy cops or whatever they call them. And they were like, hey, we got this Marine, we're going to take him. And the Navy was like, no, you have to hand him over to us. And they were like, no, we're not going to hand him over. Like, he's a Marine, like we're going to handle it, and the Navy people were like, no, you're not. You're going to give him to us. While they were arguing about what to do with me, I left. I just left.
Just
Homer
Simpson in the bushes?
Yes, literally. I didn't run away. I didn't
Recon.
I literally walked away. And they were so busy arguing with each other that they didn't even notice.
You're shitting me.
Walked away. Now, so I get back on the ship or whatever. I go back to my berthing, and I'm like, oh God, I just got away with murder. Like, what just happened? They had my ID though.
Yeah.
But anyways, wake up the next morning and they're like, hey, James Bell, there's only 2 James Bells on this whole ship, and the other one's black. So yeah, it's you. Because I was like, oh, I think you got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
I didn't do nothing.
They're like, no, it was you. So I was like, yeah, it was me. Anyways, they were so mad at me, dude. They were interrogating me for a week straight because they thought that I had snuck onto that ship. Because those dudes that I left, they were embarrassed that they just lost me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, he must have jumped into the water and swam and climbed up onto the ship. Dude, you would have to be insane to try to sneak onto an aircraft carrier. What a good way to get killed.
Yeah, for sure.
You're nuts if you think you're going to sneak onto an aircraft carrier. No, and they're like, well, how'd you get on the ship? I'm like, I walked up the gangplank and saluted the officer of the day and requested permission to come aboard. Like, how else do you get on it? You know, like, that's the only way you're getting on this ship. They did not believe me. They thought that I had snuck on that ship. I'm like, dude, I didn't sneak on the ship. Like,
unreal.
Yeah.
But I can see it. I can hear it. Yeah.
So for them, it was like a total OPSEC thing. Like, oh, we have to get to the bottom of this. And they thought that I was lying to them about it. I'm like, dude, I'm not lying. Like, you know, this is what happened. Anyways, you know, they dragged me, you know, in front of the, you know, the MEU commander who's a captain.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he's sitting there talking to me, you know, obviously telling me how awful I am and, you know, what a you know, how every bad thing in the world that's ever happened is due to me. And he was like, he goes, Corporal Bell, he goes, you're no longer authorized. And whenever I got busted down, I was on a meritorious sergeant board that I was like sure to win. Like, there was no way that anybody on that MEU was going to beat me at a meritorious board. Yeah, he was like, Corporal Bell, you're no longer authorized to wear the insignia of a non-commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps. Remove that rank and place it on my desk. And I remember like walking up to the desk and I was like, I think I'm going to flip this desk over on top of this guy right now.
Yeah, let's make it worse.
Yeah, and then I looked at the floor. It's a ship, so the desk is bolted to the deck.
They're anchored down, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's probably a good thing. Like, so I you know, whatever. Put my, you know, whatever. That's how that all went down.
Holy shit, dude!
It was terrible. It was so embarrassing. I was so I'm still embarrassed about it.
What you want? I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, ever been drunk? Happened to me once. You know what I mean? Like, shit happens, right? Like, I had I don't want to say my only shore patrol experience, but one of my earliest shore patrol experience. And it wasn't even shore patrol. Like, we were over in Bahrain, and there was I can't even remember the name of the base, but we would walk. It was about a mile and a half to this base where it'll come to me here in a second. But long story short, beers, whatever the fuck, da-da-da. And we're leaving, right? Like, no issues, no fights, no nothing. You know what I mean? We're just leaving, and we were kind of like serpentining through like these, I would call it the industrial side of the base, where like a lot of Conex boxes and stuff like that, right? So I slipped in between these two Conex boxes to take a piss. And I was like, I'll catch up with you guys. You know, we're going out the back gate, right? And I said, I'll catch up with you guys. I just got to take a leak. And right as I'm shaking it off, I'm backlit, like, hey, motherfucker. And I was like, yeah, what's up? I'm just, you know, I'm taking a piss. You know, like, it wasn't like I was in front of a school. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sandwiched in between these two Conex boxes. But it was a Navy Shore Patrol guy. And he was like, you're going in, zip tie and all. You know, and I'm like, here we fucking go. You know, I'm like, God damn it. You know, I'm going to get eviscerated for this, you know. And because I was a corporal and meritorious the whole 9 yards, you know. So I'd only been in for like a fucking year and a half, you know. So I'm petrified. I'm like, God damn it, you know. And they marched me into whatever the COC, you know, the command center for the, you know, the MPs and stuff. And there was one Marine in there. And he kind of leaned over his shoulder and sees me. And he was like, what's your story? And the squid, the Navy guy, was like, caught him taking a piss in between two Conex boxes, you know, like you said, like it was some major infraction, you know. Yeah. And he was like, that's it? The Marine goes, that's it? He goes, the Navy guy goes, I've been taking sailors to the fucking brig all night for X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? This kind of guy's acting like a hall monitor. And the Marine goes, You're gonna take him in? He was like, yeah. He goes, you got better shit to do, man. He goes, I'll take him. He goes, he's one of mine. I'll take him. He's like, you sure? Yeah, we got 10 feet outside of that COC. And he goes, turn around. And I turned around. And he goes, clip. And he cut my zip ties. He goes, run. And I just fucking hauled ass, dude. And I don't think I went baand to that fucking base, you know, for the rest of the deployment. You
Good
know?
for him.
Because, dude, like, come on, man.
Good for him.
You know what I mean? It's, you know, people, and I'm not saying, you know, people fuck up when they drink too much. You know what I mean? Like, shit happens. Yeah. You know? So that was the first one.
Yeah.
Was the second one better?
No. It was funny, and I did end up learning a lot of lessons from the second one. The second one's really not a great story. I just stayed out too late. I was on I don't even know what it was, but they sent like 5 or 6 of us up to Tokyo to some like army installation in Tokyo, and like the like Pacific Marine Corps Command was doing like a war game. Mm-hmm. And my job, we were like the recon advisory element. So like it was a computer game, and they were like, okay, what would a recon team do like in this situation?
Simulation, yeah.
And it was all logistics based. like, okay, what would you need? And I'm like, well, we need this many radios, we need this many batteries. And they're like, okay, what's all that stuff going to weigh? Oh, it's going to weigh this much. Okay, how many guys are you going to have? Oh, there'll be 6 of us. Well, how long would it take y'all to get ready for this? I'm like, well, 6 hours. That's all it was. It was a computer game, but they needed us to tell them what to plug into the computer for the computer game.
They needed real life avatars, so to speak. Yeah.
And the first night we were there, Tokyo's a great time.
I've never been, but I've heard.
Well, amazing time. And so I was out, enjoying Tokyo. And get on a train. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back, whatever. Get on a train. Well, I had an insane night that night. I somehow ended up making friends with these German golfers. They had just graduated college, and they're professional golfers from Germany. And their dad, they're all super rich, and their dads had sent them to Tokyo for good job, good, you graduated. We're gonna send you on a trip. And I met these dudes, ended up making friends with them, and was just palling around with them all night. Just really nothing, just raising hell, drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Get on a train to go back, and I wake up, and I'm at the end of the line wherever this train is.
And immediately not where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, in another country. And I'm not in the part of Tokyo that has all the English writing. We're at the end of the line. And so I'm like, man, this is not good. So I, find a cab, tell the cab, I'm like, hey, the big base in the middle of town. I don't even know what it's called. I don't even know where I'm supposed to go. The dude's like, yeah, you're 2 hours away from there.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, drive me there. And he's like, okay, it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I was like, okay, well, whatever.
One problem at a time.
Yeah. 25-meter target. We'll just,
yeah.
And so he gets me there. I pay him the money, and he's like, oh no, that's only half of, what it's, and I'm like, well, look, dude, that's all the money I have. I have no more money. So that, thank you for the ride. Here's your money. I mean, it was a couple $100 or something. It was an expensive cab ride. Not as expensive as getting busted down was, though. And now I'm on base, this base I've never been on. I was only there for one day. I got there that day.
Mm-hmm.
Had been there an hour before I left to go out in town. So I had no clue where my barracks was or anything like that. And I wandered around for an hour trying to find, and I was like, you're literally wasting your time. So what I did was get to what I thought was kind of the middle of the base and just kind of chilled out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to wait till the sun comes up, and maybe I'll be able to collect my bearings. And
knowing that you're fucked.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the sun comes up or whatever, and I'm thinking okay, I can get back, get in my uniform, get in formation. Everything should be okay. Well, I walk back, and as I'm walking up, they're already in their morning formation. It's already, so I'm done. And I'm in civilian clothes. And the guy in charge, there was a colonel in charge. I feel guilty. I can't remember his name. I should remember his name. But he was he's like, Lance Corporal Bell. He just called he knew who I was. I'm the guy that's missing from the formation.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, come here. To the front of the formation up there next to him. And he's like, you just stay right here.
We're going to make an example out of you.
And so we do the whole, they let everybody go. And he turns around and looks at me. He's like, okay. He's like, so you're not going out anymore. And you're just going to be my little helper for this whole trip. He's like, my aide couldn't make it, and you're going to be my aide. And I was like, all right, this doesn't sound too bad. And actually, I did end up learning a lot working for that dude.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I had never been around anything like that. I mean, I was a boot recon Marine. All I had ever done is boot recon Marine stuff. So I had never been around officers or seen all the logistics and all the planning and all the. I thought it was cool, and I know it sounds like I don't want to be mean or anything, but I was outworking all of the office admin S1 people.
Oh, sure. You get
just,
a whole different gear.
Oh,
yeah.
I was outworking them like I was a different species of person.
And you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole.
And again, no, you're right. So I was trying to I was giving it a little extra. So, dude, I ended up getting a NAM, or they gave me or maybe not a NAM. It was the other one that they gave you, the Navy Achievement one.
Yeah,
Whatever. It was like the pat on the back medal.
Yeah.
But I literally got a medal for like doing such a good job for that dude, and I thought that was like so cool. So I come back from that, and then I get called in the first sergeant's office. Total dick. He's like, so I just got a call from Sergeant Major so-and-so, and he told me that you showed up late to formation the first day. And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to let that slide.
What the fuck?
I know. And I was like, dude, what a dick move. I was like, it didn't hurt anybody. Like, it didn't hurt. Like, I worked my butt. I was like, you embarrassed our unit, because it's a bunch of different people in units and stuff up there. He's like, you totally embarrassed us. And I was like, actually, they gave me this medal. Like they said.
Yeah.
They told me I did a good job.
They were kind of impressed. Yeah.
So yeah, got busted down. And then I was a PFC. I had never been a PFC. I came out of boot camp as a Lance Corporal.
Oh,
and I had been in 2 years, and then I was a PFC, and then I got my orders to First Force taken away, and then I got put in the 3 shop, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They shoved me in the 3 shop, and I was in there, like literally. I don't want to say I was suicidal, but I was like that level of depressed.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, I wasn't gonna kill myself or anything, but I was like, just dejected, completely demoralized.
Mm-hmm.
And John Croft, Big Daddy, walked into the office one day and he saw me at the desk at the S3, and he just looked at me. He's like, Bell, he's like, what are you doing in here? I was like, I got busted down and they put me in here. He's like, hold on. And he went and talked to George Bristol and was like, Jimmy's in my platoon now.
Yeah,
and,
awesome.
Yeah, and Bristol was like, and it literally saved my life. I would say that like saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he freaking scooped me up, and he had a platoon that they were just standing up, so it was like a training platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had already been, through a couple shooting packages. I'd already done MU. I had already, had been at ATL, so like I was kind of one of the like, more senior guy, had been around the block a little bit, and we were getting boot drops and things like that. And so I got to kind of go through that with this guy that I just absolutely adored, John Croft.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Everybody loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just so cool to me. And that was a good experience. And then Colonel Bristol was like, hey, you're going to Second Force. He's like, I don't need to see you, hanging around here, for another year, getting in trouble. He's like, you want to go on a deployment? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, you're gonna go to Second Force. I was like, thank you. You're saving my life right now.
And think about how much life experience that was in a 2 year. Was it 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot in 2 years, dude.
Oh man, it was incredible. And I have tons of stories. I mean, there was tons of things that happened that were all incredible growth opportunities. And I'm being a little self-deprecating, and I'm kind of telling not the most flattering stories, but a lot of really good stuff happened too, and I did do some good things, and I wasn't a shitbag all the time. But you're right. It was a lot of life experience in those 2 years. And honestly, like I was kind of intimidated to show up to Second Force. So I showed up to Second Force as a PFC, which is like,
it's insane.
Unheard of.
Yeah, it is unheard of.
There are no PFCs that say, like,
right.
And I remember, this is the funniest thing ever. So the guy who ended up being my platoon sergeant, this guy named Ed McDermott, he walks in. I'm checking in to the admin dude, this guy named Gunny Gaitha. We got our service record books there, and Ed walks in, and he picks up my record book, and he doesn't even look at me, doesn't even acknowledge that I exist. Picks it up, goes right to the Article 15.
So what's this fucking guy's story?
No, he literally, that's almost exactly. He looks at, shuts it, sets it down. He looks at me. He's like, "What the fuck's your problem?"
Not welcome aboard.
No.
What the fuck is your deal?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, Gunny. I got in trouble. Like that's it. I got in trouble. I got busted down. And he looked at Gaitha. He goes, "Make sure this shitbag doesn't end up in my platoon." So whatever. So I get put in this like, training platoon or whatever, and it's also a new platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're forming. And again, I kind of had the same role that I had in that last platoon I was in Okinawa. They're like, "Oh, this guy, you've had deployments. You're a breacher. You kind of know what's going on." And by the way, we feel like we need to keep a close eye on you. So, anyways, I got to be kind of help out forming this platoon, and they were like, they're like, you don't want to, like, we're about to send you to sniper school, jump school, free fall. I mean, they were going to just max me out on all the schools, which I thought was amazing because I loved any sort of training, any sort of school. I would do whatever. Like, I loved it all. I mean, that's how I ended up going to ground sensor school and just weird stuff like that. I thought it was all cool. Anyways, I was like, I don't want that. I was like, I want to deploy. I was like, I want to, I want to go to Iraq. And so there's an Iraq platoon that's doing a workup, and then there's the training platoon. And they offered me, like, through all these schools at me, and they're like, you really want to go to the platoon that's going to deploy? I was like, yeah, I really do. And they're like, okay. And so I walked out, and Ed McDermott, the guy who told me make sure the shit bag don't leave enough in my platoon, he was out there, and he knew what choice I was going to make. He looked at me. He goes, get the fuck over. Let's get the fuck over here. Maybe let's get at parade rest. He's like, you're not going to be in a team. You're going to guard our gear. You're going to carry our jock straps. He's like, you're going to do whatever I tell you to do. It's like, do not think for a second you're going to get in a team.
Yeah, you're going to be the admin NCO. Oh, not NCO, but you're right.
Yeah, he goes, you're going to be sleeping at the range every night, guarding the ammo. And I did. So during our shooting package with 2nd Force, I had to sleep at the range. They wouldn't even let me sleep in the barracks.
I believe it.
Like, that's how much of, like, a second-class citizen I was. But I was in the headquarters element. So, like, it was the platoon commander, platoon sergeant, the corpsman, the communicator, and then me. I was in, like, that little group of misfits over there on the edge. Well, dude, I was, like, high shooter for both my other shooting packages. And, I mean, and so this was my 3rd shooting package. And again, I had a little something to prove. So I'm shooting next to Ed every day. And he's just like, what is going on? And I mean, I was like, when it came to doing things, I was like squared away. I was fast. I wake up, I get up early in the morning, all my gear squared away. Everything is like locked. And you're like, that. When he would say, he's like, man, we have the best PFC in the whole Marine Corps.
Yeah.
He's like, we have the best PFC in the whole Marine Corps.
He's on a 2nd enlistment.
He's 30 years old.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, just shooting next to him every day. And Ed was a pretty good shooter too, but he just, after a while, he was just like, he just had to acknowledge, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but like the instructors would be like, everybody get off the line. They're like, get off the line. And they're like, come here, Bell. And like, we would do like magazine change or whatever. Like, do you see how fast he's moving? Like, do you see how he's moving with a purpose? Do you see how he's like ripping that gun out of his holster? Like, make it look like that.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like, I know it's hot out here, because it was like a July shooting package. And
brutal.
But I mean, whatever. I was in heaven. But whatever. I say all this to say that I did end up getting in a team. And because they just couldn't be denied.
Yeah.
I was really good I was good, and everybody knew it. And
especially since that NJP, that non-judicial punishment system, is supposed to be for corrective action so that you're not, but even, and I'm fucking this up, but basically like, back in the day, that's who you wanted. You wanted the guys that were, you know what I mean? And,
a little bit,
a little, right?
Yeah.
And
there's an element of criminality involved in all of it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's where I just came from. I would tell all my students, I'm like, you're an international criminal. You need to act and think like one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But if there's a war going on, then your ability is like, okay, he's a libo risk, but he's our kind of libo risk because he's highly capable.
Yeah.
And it's just strange how, like, had the GWAT not been going on, you never would have left the fucking 3-shot.
No.
Probably ever.
No. I'd be buried underneath it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they all kind of realized the same thing. They're like, okay, we're going to put him with a strong team leader. And so, our good friend Chris Jewell, he was like, I want him. Chris was like, yeah, I want him. And he and I got like just right away, immediately, just got along great, communicated great. He set very clear expectations. He was a great team leader, super hardcore. He was at 2nd Recon Battalion before that. He'd already done a deployment. He was in this lineage of like, I can't remember all their names, but how you grow up in recon, like you follow this like certain lineage, and he was from this kind of like hardcore Ed Driscoll was the name of his mentor. And,
Fast Eddie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like that was kind of like a hardcore, to be associated with that group of people was kind of like kind of like a tough crowd. And so yeah, being in Jules, and Jules was super squared away, team leader of the year. And he loved me. He was super cool. He's like, yeah, man, you're my kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, cool, man, thanks. I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I was like, I'm really, I was like, you'll see, I'm good. And and I was, and ended up, doing great in that shooting package. And I was a breacher, and I had been a breacher for like 3 years. I was a good breacher. And I mean, you go on Muse, you go through the shooting packages, you build a lot of charges.
A lot of charges.
You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And so my logbook was like, I was on my second logbook. I knew,
Yeah.
and we're doing things, and they're like, man, you really do kind of know what's going on here. I was like, yeah, bro, I got you. Like, this is what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always like cheerful, and I have kind of a sunny disposition, and I'm naturally energetic and hardworking, and so I just always let those elements of my personality kind of try to put my best foot forward. And I'm like, hey, I'm just going to show up every day, and I'm going to work and do whatever you need me to do. And ended up, in the shooting package, they kind of figured out like, okay, this is the guy that like, you're our lead assaulter. Like you're going to be and I was like, oh, I know. Even if you didn't tell me that, like I was yeah. Thank you, but I'll be the lead assaulter. And then we went on deployment and had a historic, really really amazing deployment.
Was that your first Fallujah deployment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 2004. So as everybody knows, the team, the Blackwater team, got hit on. I believe it was like March 31st or March 30th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Marine Corps, they sent in the Marine Corps on, April 8th, I believe, is whenever they went in for the first time. My brother was actually with 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, and was in that first Battle of Fallujah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got some great stories. And he and I, we sit down with the map, and we kind of have some shared stories. And I might go into one later. But our platoon deployed as it was called Task Force HVT. So our whole job was to go round up high value targets. So the way that we were structured, we weren't structured to do reconnaissance missions really. We had alpha stack and Bravo stack. We were built like a direct action platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And we get over there, and the first thing we did was we went up to this town called Husayba up on the border, kind of close to Syria, and that was like the Wild West back then. And I believe it was 3-7 was there at that time. And they're just getting like schwacked. These poor dudes, company commander getting killed, platoon commanders getting killed, Marines getting smoked. We were in this railroad station, and right next to us was the dust-off squadron. So at my very first place that I was at in Iraq was right next to the medevac. So the dust-off squadron is the helicopters that conduct the medical evacuations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a dose of reality, real quick. You're like,
oh,
these birds are spinning.
Active.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And it's right over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. So we had a sister platoon from 3rd Force Recon out of Mobile, Alabama. And they actually, they were up there with us too. And they had a guy get shot in the head and killed. So yeah, Husayba was crazy. We were running around doing raids, snatching people up, and again, our mission profiles, I don't know where they came from. Our platoon commander would go off somewhere, and he'd come back with a little packet and be like, all right, this is where we're going. Mm-hmm. And then we would go full mission profile, start planning, start doing all the routes, getting all your gear laid out, getting everything, getting ready to go. And then we'd load up, it'd get dark. We'd load up in the trucks and drive to some dude's house, and again, it took me a minute to kind of get my rhythm of
sure.
And I just remember the very first raid we went on, it was the weirdest feeling. It was like nobody knew what to do.
Yeah,
and we did. Everybody knew what to do.
But when you're doing it for realsies,
yeah,
that first time, it's bizarre.
It was very bizarre. And that is a feeling that I did not expect to have. And I remember our platoon sergeant, Ed McDermott, was he literally climbed over the wall of this dude's house and just went and opened the gate and let us in. And I thought two things. One, I thought like, man, that dude's really brave to do that. That seems awfully dangerous. And two, I was like, I'm never gonna feel this feeling ever again. So that weird not knowing what to do feeling, I killed it that night. Like I was like, no, I'm never gonna be in a situation where I like feel like that ever again. So basically after that, we would like we would hit the deck and like, I'd be like, is that it right there, sir? Talk to the platoon commander. He's like, that's it. I'm like, okay, no takebacks. And then I would go and I would be inside that house very quick. And I was like, yeah, you got to come with the guys. They can't leave you alone. They have to go. And so they can't let you go in there by yourself. So I was always just like very aggressive, I was always pushing the fight. And like, I don't know if it's just how I'm built, but like I could process a lot of information very quickly. And like, I would always do map studies. I would look at everything. So like whenever I got there, like I felt good about, like I knew where I was at. And just all of that preparation.
Well, there's something to be said about, like, not to cut you off, there's something to be said about fighting on your own terms, right? Oh. And with a direct action mission like that, you're going to do everything humanly possible to make sure that it's on your terms and not theirs.
Seize the initiative.
Right, seize the initiative, right? And it's a totally different, that is a totally different feeling and mindset that it is, walking into an ambush unexpectedly or being reactive to your environment.
Well, like my brother, man, I always felt so bad for my brother. The guy had 4 combat deployments, all with 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, and it was brutal. Like the situations that those guys would get put into, where you're not in charge of your own destiny. You don't get afforded the opportunity to really make decisions that are going to like affect. They don't get to shape their own battlefield.
Correct.
They're just handed they get dealt a hand and they have to play it. And that hand sucks. And so to me, I always like, I thought my job was super cool, but like I was like, this is a hard thing to do, but what those guys are doing is way harder.
Yeah, it's grunt appreciation.
Because you're not in charge of, you don't create the rules. Whereas with us, we made the rules. Like I chose what time we were going to show up. We chose how we were going to get into the house. We choose what weapon systems we were going to have. We knew what kind of support we were going to have. We knew who was in the house. We knew how many people were, like, we knew we knew, like,
or at least a good idea.
Or tried to, yeah. I mean, not always.
I had that conversation with my brother as well, who had 2 tours during that time frame, and hearing his stories. One, the invasion, like, there were rules, but at the same time, they were pretty fucking loose. You know what I mean? And and then to hear this, and even towards the end of the invasion, I kind of started to see those changing, and immediately didn't care for it at all. I was like, hold on a minute, you know what I'm saying? We don't need, there has to be rules, obviously, but then again, there's such thing as hamstringing, right? And, hearing my brother talk with his 2 deployments, like the 04, 05 time frame in those places, I was like, bro.
That sounds awful.
Infinitely more difficult.
Way more difficult.
Than what I had to do.
That's how I feel too. And again, I think my job was super cool, but like I was lucky to have it.
Yes.
And I also think about it a lot. Like, I think it gives you way worse PTSD not being in control, like not being in charge of your own destiny. I think that's sort of like insidious. It just does something to you that I think damages you. Whereas with me, like, I had freedom of movement, But yeah, so we were doing the task force at HVT missions, which was like, it's the coolest mission. There's nothing cooler than doing raids. Like, doing raids is the coolest thing you could possibly do in the military, at least for me, for someone like me. And we were super good at it. We had great intel. And it was a task force, so we had like all sorts of assets, like that what we otherwise would not ordinarily have. Like, you mean I told you, I'd go on a raid or whatever, and there'd be like some like special forces dude like painting the target with the laser range. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like. I was like, okay, I did something right to end up here. I felt like I was with the cool kids.
Yeah, you were.
It was super fun. And then this whole thing with like Fallujah started kicking off. We all started talking about Fallujah, and everybody kind of knew. They're like, hey, the Marines went in April and killed a bunch of people, and it's an election year, so everybody knew. Oh, we have to wait till after the election before we can. And I distinctly remember thinking like, because people asked me like, didn't that like upset you? And I was like, because like y'all all knew that like it was political. You were letting those guys fortify that city for 6 months over a political decision, so some guy could get reelected. And I was like, I didn't care. Like, I knew that, and I knew that it was like basically evil, to have like to make a political decision that's going to affect all these people's lives and get all my friends killed. But I didn't care. I was like, yeah, politicians are horrible. I was like, and I don't care. Like all that I care is that we're gonna go to this battle. Like that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's as far as my like brain. I'm like, you didn't get mad about that? I'm like, no.
Nope,
like,
I was the same way. Like,
I didn't care.
Yep, didn't care. I was like, doesn't matter. I don't care. I just care that I'm here.
And people would ask me, they're like, well, like what do you think you were fighting for? And I'm like, I never thought about it. Like I literally was never like, oh, we're fighting to like make this country better or like save these people. Never crossed my mind. Never. I was just like happy to be there, and I was like fighting. It's so cliche, but fighting for the guy on the left and the right.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of that.
I didn't care about that country or those people or any of it. Like I don't care. Like I was here to do my job. So I wasn't, again, maybe not the most thoughtful young man, but that's just where my motivation was. Yeah, and I'm not trying to pretend like I had some high-minded belief system.
No, I've said this on previous podcasts. Like I started off as Elias, and I using a platoon reference, right? I started off as Elias, and I ended up like Barnes.
Yeah.
I started off very like, okay, we're here to, liberate. We're here to do this. We're here to do that. Saddam's bad, blah, blah, blah. And that was kind of the end of it. You know what I mean? Like I was very myopic in like, hey, I'm here to employ the sniper rifle and to bring my team as a team leader, bring my team, home all in one piece. Anything else I don't care about. I just don't. You know what I mean? If it doesn't directly impact the mission at hand or the objective or the tasks that we're doing, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I just don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I was the same way.
Yeah, so I understand.
And people like want you to care about stuff, and you're like, I don't care. Like I don't know how to express to you that like how irrelevant that is to me. Like I've got my hands full with just keeping track of my gear.
1,000%. Yeah.
I've got enough to worry about.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I only have so much bandwidth, and it needs to be laser focused on the task at hand. So all this other fluff and white noise is irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Leave me out of it.
Fuck, I never voted. You know what I mean? They're like, you don't vote? And I'm like, does it matter? I'm going either way. No matter who wins, I'm going wherever we get sent. You know what I mean? Obviously, I started voting when I got out. I vote every time I fucking put this uniform on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can relate immensely with what you're saying.
Yeah. So, the whole Fallujah deal started getting ready to kick off, and then that was honestly that whole. It would have been a great deployment without the Battle of Fallujah, but then once we got to participate in that, the second Battle of Fallujah, that was like kind of like the defining moment of that great deployment. And we had such a cool role to play. We conducted all of the battlefield shaping operations for 2 weeks around the city, so we would be stationed around the periphery of the city, and we wanted to make sure that they were not comfortable coming out to the edge of the city. So we would do that, with calling them for fires, sniper rifles, things like that. Just keep them pushed into the city. Like, don't come out on the edge of the city. Do not come out here. Do not come out on the edge of town. That way the invasion force could actually come up.
Yeah.
So those missions were super cool. One night, like there was a bridge just north of town that goes over the railroad tracks, like a little overpass. If you head out of Fallujah, head north, little overpass goes over the railroad tracks. We had to clear that of IEDs, make sure there's no IEDs, because that was the only medevac route. They couldn't bring helicopters into the city because they didn't want helicopters getting shot down.
Yeah.
We would. So I went and cleared that bridge, And I remember, I crawled up there, snuck up there. And again, there was like some moments that occurred like in my career that made me feel like, oh yeah, you're really in it at the moment. And that was one of them. They're like, all right, you're gonna sneak up on the bridge. And I'm like sneaking, and I'm not like, look at me, I'm not a very sneaky guy,
Yeah.
And so, but I'm like, crawling up on this bridge, and I was like, this is great. I thought it was like, I was like, I can't believe they picked me to do this. Well, it's because it's okay. You're a PF. If you die, it doesn't matter. Like that's what
in your mind. It's like this is like a reward. Send Bell.
Literally. Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, I thought, like, oh, they.
I'm the only one that could do it. Yeah, I'm the only one.
If not me, who? If not now, so I crawl up on the bridge, and there's a tire, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's an IED in that tire, and I reach in there, and I felt 2 80mm mortars. I was like, ooh, gross. So I pulled the mortar. I pulled my little Leatherman out. And I'm like, clip.
You are joking.
No, dude.
Holy fuck.
No. This other dude was up there. Mike Rosati was with me, and then we drag him off the bridge. He wasn't up. He was there with me, but not actually grabbing the mortars. But drag him off the bridge, and there's a foxhole, a fighting position that had been dug at the base of that bridge that was dug during the first Battle of Fallujah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a point with all this in a second. We throw those mortars in there, boom, blow the mortars up, and then, get out of there. We run off. And I'm telling my brother this story later on. My brother was an assaultman, used the TOW rocket system. Mm-hmm. He dug that fighting position, and he fought out of that fighting position during the April Battle of Fallujah. So my brother dug that hole that I ended up putting those mortars in and blowing them up. Kind of cool, right?
That's wicked cool.
Super cool.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, super cool.
How much time
so that was in April, and this was in November.
Wow.
So that's
surreal.
It was super cool. And then, so that a bit of the battlefield shaping stuff. And then we were running sniper missions out of like the dump ground, which is like a great place to hide if you're a sniper, by the way. Mm-hmm. Sniper hiding in the dump ground. You're never going to see them. Mm-hmm. So those were all cool. And then, the Battle of Fallujah was basically divided into 2 regimental combat teams. We were part of Regimental Combat Team 7, commanded by Colonel Tucker. We were specifically tasked with providing overwatch for 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. And the cool thing about Fallujah, man, it was like good guys over here, bad guys over there. Ready, go. Mm-hmm. And it was legit. Like, so they launched a what's called a Miklik. Mm-hmm. Which is a dual spool. They have 2 spools, and its charges all tied together, and there's a rocket at the front of these spools, and they launch these rockets, and it's an anti-mine
to clear minefields,
And so this thing, boom, they launch it right into the city, boom, blow it up to make us a little road to walk in. Only one of the lines detonated.
Oh, sure.
So a combat engineer crawls out there, primes it, boom, blows this thing up. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is so fucking cool. Like, I remember just the whole time I was like, this is so awesome. And then like there was a striker platoon. They set up, they called it a feint, so they had a whole striker platoon, which I believe is like 9 Bradleys, I think is what's in a.
Oh, I have no idea.
But it was 9 Bradleys, 25mm cannons, no joke.
That's a lot of ass, yeah.
Yeah. And so they just start lighting up the northeast side of the city for like, 10, 15 minutes. And part of it was to soften the city.
Sure.
Part of it was they wanted them to think that that's where the main invasion was coming through. I'm sure they had a few reasons for doing it, but just that like display of firepower. And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And dude, as soon as we get into the city, I'm talking like as soon as we crossed the threshold and got into the city, firefight, nonstop. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell one kind of really funny story real quick, but about this kind of first night, so we had to get into this position where we, it was like a 3-story building where we could get elevated, start trying to provide some overwatch. We're cruising down the road, headed west on the first street in the city, and headed east. And there's an infantry platoon that was stopped at an open danger area. And Jewel walks up. Jewel's hilarious.
Yes, he is.
Jewel walks up to this dude. He's like, "What's going on, sir?" And the guy's like, he's like, "There's a sniper covering this open danger area." And Jewel was like, there ain't no goddamn snipers in Iraq. Jewel takes that sniper stuff pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, there ain't no goddamn snipers in Iraq. He's like, come on, like talking to us, his team. And we walk across danger. And the guy's shooting. There's obviously a guy with a gun somewhere not wanting people to cross that open danger. Nobody gets hit. Nothing happens.
Not effective.
Yeah. But I just remember him talking to that poor lieutenant like that. And I think I know exactly who that lieutenant is now. He's a famous author now. I don't want to say his name, but he's a wonderful guy. He went on to have a great career. And I'm almost 100% sure that's who that guy was. But hilarious. So, I mean, it was just, and it was just, days and days and days of nonstop stuff like that.
Sure.
The first night was amazing because I didn't anticipate using my 203 so much. And
just shooting eggs, dude,
going through dozens and dozens and dozens of rounds. And they were so effective. It was so, because like you really couldn't see the bad guy. I mean, it was night, and two, they were hiding. They didn't want to get shot. So like you get a little glimpse of them, you'd see them kind of run around a little bit, that first night. After the first night, we only fought in the daytime, pretty much. Everything just settled down. It was daytime fighting only. It was like a rhythm, basically. So you could see them then. But that first night, tons of 203 all night long. And it literally went through like dozens of rounds, had to keep getting refit from the infantry dudes. And that next morning, I talked to my buddy, my homie, David Caruso, who I had been in the same platoon with him for 2 years in Okinawa. And he was an assistant team leader in Dagger 4. And he and I were talking about it. I was like, dude, what's up with the 203s? And he and I had always kind of compared notes on it. He was kind of a recon nerd like I was. Yep. Like we were always talking about our craft. And I was like, did you use your 203 a lot? He's like, dude, I did. I was like, did you know about it? He's like, no, dude. He's like, I just started doing it. He's like, and it was working great. I was like, right, it worked amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, how much did you go through? He's like, oh, I ran out like 3, 4, 5 times. I was like, oh, me too. Like, so we had this like shared experience there.
Sure. Anytime you got to get resupplied grenades, 203, it's that's a theoretically a good time.
I mean, we were going through dozens of them.
Yeah.
And he and this is not to be too morbid, but like that was the last conversation Dave Caruso ever had. Like he walked out that door and died like 20 yards outside that door. And I'm just like in some weird way, I'm like, man, I'm glad that the last thing that he got to do was like have a conversation about smoking dudes with 203s. That was cool. I actually ended up getting medevaced. This is kind of a wild story. So I they shot Dave. They were crossing an open danger area. They got, it was like a machine gun initiated ambush, and like first round, smoked him dead, shot in the head, done. I actually went out there to try to get him, and like I remember, so the term like withering fire. So I go out the door, and I think I'm gonna run out there and grab him. And like it's like I felt like I was in a snow globe. Like I felt like everything was just like the dirt was coming up out. The dirt was coming up. The buildings were crumbling. Like I could like feel the bullets like passing by my body, and I was like, probably need to maybe not gonna work. And I was a pretty physically courageous person, but like no, I was gonna die. Like literally, I would have died if I and Dave was already dead. I mean, I would have loved to have gone out there and got him. And he and I had done multiple shooting packages together, and I spent years carrying his big ass all over the place because they'd always kill the two. And he and I were always the biggest guys. And so they'd always, me and him would always get killed.
Yeah.
So we were always having to carry each other all the time. And so I was like, I've been training to carry this guy for like 3-4 years now. Like now finally here's my chance, and I can't even get out there to him. But anyways, that's all. But I tried and failed. But anyways, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what did you end up? Were they able to get him? Obviously, eventually.
Yeah, but later on, it was quite like a couple hours later. Actually, the infantry had actually moved up and actually got up to where we were at, and then actually an infantry platoon got him. But what happened was, I went up on top of the building, and I was like, okay, if I can't go get him, I was like, I'm gonna find the guys, and I had them pretty well dialed in, but I couldn't see them. but I knew where they were at. They were like in this alley. So I'm like, launching my 203s in there to go to get them. And this freaking M113 medevac armored track, those things they were coming in to get Dave. They come in, they see me, they start lighting me up with the Mark 19.
Yep.
Boom, 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 boom. A round hits, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm hanging over the parapet, trying to get some like a good Marine. And this round hits maybe 6 feet away from my head. And I had a buddy, the dude that was right next to me, he screamed and fell over. And I spun away. Like when I felt the explosion, I spun away. And I was checking my face to make sure I still had a face. And like I said, that dude that was next to me screamed and fell over. And I looked at my hands, and it was my hands were covered in blood. And I was like, oh, this dude's dead. And I looked at him. He didn't have a scratch on him. There was nothing wrong with him. And then I looked at the ground, and I saw arterial bleeding.
You got fragged?
Yeah, coming out of me. It was my blood that was on my hands, squirting on the ground. And I was like, oh God,
this is not good.
Direct pressure.
Yeah. This is not good.
Not good at all. Ran downstairs. Found one of my buddies. They're like, I don't think you're gonna die, but you better kind of chill out. We don't need you moving around, losing a bunch of blood. You could stop it with direct pressure, but it was a pretty heinous injury. And I was kind of in and out of consciousness. I was losing enough blood to where it was hard to remain conscious. And then so I got medevaced with Dave. So I was in the same vehicle that medevaced Dave, right next to my dead friend, that I'd known for years. We're going out of town, and we stop there was a battalion aid station less than a mile outside of Fallujah. We get there, and I'm at the front. They're triaging everybody. And there's people that are way worse off than me. I'm not great, but I'm not, actively dying or dead. And so I'm sitting on the porch, and this dude came walking out, and he had a helmet, and it was full of Dave's skull and brains. Mm-hmm. And he just walked over to the edge of the porch and just dumped it out, just like he was cleaning out a pan in the kitchen. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, so that's how they do that. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, how else are you going to do it? Is there some what's the formal procedure for getting brains out of the helmet?
Canteen of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's just weird. Everything took on this very practical sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me in a truck in a 7-ton and drove me to the big hospital. I had to go to a real hospital. The battalion aid station wasn't going to cut it. And I remember I was in this truck, and this dude, he was one of the truck operators, he was a truck driver. He's like, man, he's like, you look like you've been in this shit. You've been in this city. I was like, yeah, man. He's like, what's it like? I was like, dude, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of bad guys and a bunch of Marines, and we're all just hooking and jabbing, getting after it. He's like, man. He's like, I've been saving something that I wanted to give my wife. And he reaches in his pocket and he pulls it out, and it's a tracer round. And to him, having a tracer round was kind of a
big
special
deal. Yeah,
thing.
it was a big deal. Yeah.
He goes, I've been saving it to give my wife. He goes, but I think I want to give it to you. He goes, but I want you to use it. And I was like, I will. And I pulled out my magazine, put his little tracer round in there. I was like, I promise you I'll use it.
Yeah. He tells that story to this day.
I hope so. And if that dude ever hears this podcast, I hope he knows how much I appreciate it. And I want him to know I did use that tracer round.
Fucking A.
With great effect.
Yeah.
So we get to the hospital. And I remember, dude, I got to the hospital, and one thing that struck me right away was every Marine that I saw was fucked up. Arms missing, legs missing, dying on the operating table. And then the whole thing was full of a bunch of malingering, host nation personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? They're limping around, had a little bandage on their hand or something like that. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I have arthritis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it made me so mad. I was like, yeah. There was not an ambulatory Marine, besides me. So we get in there, and they're like, oh, you're kind of fucked up. And I'm like, well, okay, whatever. Fix me. And And they're like, digging stuff out of me, and they're like, "Oh, your teeth are cracked. Like, I think you have a broken jaw." They're like, "Yeah, you're fucked up." They're like, "We're gonna have to send you to Germany." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I mean, I wasn't stoked about it, but I was like, "All right, I guess this is what happens." I knew if you really got injured, you got sent to Germany. And they're like, "I'm gonna be right back. We're gonna do some X-rays, and we're gonna get you out of here. We're gonna get you to Germany." I was like, "Okay, cool." So the doctor leaves the room, and I immediately just grab my gear and I walk out of the hospital.
No shit, yeah.
Well, you are not sending me to Germany. And I remember I was playing it so cool. I was like, "Oh yeah, cool. All right, yes sir. All right, roger that." And literally, so like half my face is paralyzed. So like have droopy I mean, I look messed up. Anyways, 2nd Recon Battalion. So I was in 2nd Force Recon, 2nd Recon Battalion, our sister battalion. Their headquarters was right across the street from the hospital. So I walk out and I get out of there pretty quick because I know like they're probably gonna come looking for me.
Right. Yeah, I need to get away quick.
And so
I have a window here.
I wander out the gate, and I see I'm like 2nd Recon Battalion. I'm like, "You score."
Yeah, friends.
So I freaking go in there, and I walk in there, and the first person I see is the executive officer of 2nd Recon Battalion. I can't remember his name. He was a major. Comes walking down the hallway. He's like, and I had been wearing the same clothes for like a week.
Yeah.
I mean, and now it was only the first night of the battle, but we had been out there doing battlefield shaping. So like I was kind of haggard looking, and I was covered in blood, and I had like half my face paralyzed. He's like, "What's going on, Marine?" And I was like, "Oh, my name is Lance Corporal Bell. Like, I'm with 2nd Force Recon. I got medevaced. And I'm trying to get back to my platoon." And he like kind of looked at me. He's like, "Are you supposed to be at the hospital right now?" I was like, "Oh no, sir. No, I'm good."
Doc said ship shape.
I was like, "I'm good." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, like we have to have, it's like 4 or 6 vehicle convoy or something. Like you couldn't drive around with less than." He goes, "I'm gonna have to put some people together, but we'll get you, back to your spot."
And he fucking knew, dude.
How could you not?
He fucking knew.
No, I mean, dude.
Yeah.
I was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like half my face was paralyzed. I was covered in blood. Like, whatever. So
it's awesome. But he knew.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Of course he did.
So they put together this convoy, and the team leader of that convoy had been my roommate at 3rd Recon Battalion. He was actually in my team, and this other dude was like, "So tell me, like, what's going on in the city?" Because they had been working blocking positions, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" When you see your friends, everybody's got to catch up, and he told my buddy Jared, the guy that I had been roommates with at 3rd Recon, he's like, "I think this guy's kind of fucked up." He's like, "I don't know if we should." And Jared was like, "He'll be okay."
Yeah, that's just Jimmy.
He was like, "He'll be just fine." So we get back to our little, I don't know where we were staying. We had some like fob that we were staying. We were not on Camp Fallujah. We were on some fob a little bit closer to the city. Get there, and I get new gear. I go to the supply shop, get all new camis, get some food, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to get? Well, actually, no. I did the first thing I did was like, I got to figure out how to get back to the city. Well, there was like this tent had a bunch of antennas and shit on it, and I was like, oh, there's some important people in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in there, and this dude, I was like, hey, is that the RCT 7 headquarters? And the guy was like, yeah. And he's like, and you're not going in there dressed like that. And I was like, what? Like, I mean, and I was about to walk right through this dude, and some other guy saw our communication. And he was like, hey, devil dog. He's like, come here. And that, because that other guy, he knew that I was about to, I don't know what I was going to do to him, but I was upset. I was definitely going to, I don't know what I was
solve that problem.
Yeah, The guy was not going to keep me from going in that tent. There was not an option. But this other dude had the wherewithal. He saw, and he's like, hey, devil dog. He's like, come here. He's like, what's going on? I was like, my name is Lance Corporal Bell, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get back to my platoon. He's like, yeah, that's the headquarters. He's like, come in there with me. I'm like, cool. And I think he was like an intel gunny or something like that. I don't know. We go in there, and dude, walk in there, straight up like modern warfare, TVs on the wall.
Yep.
Freaking big table. Colonel Tucker's at the head of the table. It literally looked just like the movies.
Yep.
And I was like, wow. I mean, I never saw anything like that. I was never in those sort of environments.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, cool. And they're like, hey, sit right here. which is like they had like it was almost like a foyer for the tent, like the little like a reception area. Sit right here. I'm like, cool. So I'm sitting there and I wait like 5 minutes, and that same dude walks back by. I'm like, hey, I was like, I need to talk to somebody. I need to, and they're like, hey, we're a little busy at the moment, like largest pitch battle since Way City's going on. Like, calm down. I gave it like another 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, hey. And the guy like kind of gets an attitude with me. He's like, dude, calm down. He's like, you need to chill out. And I don't know what I said, but I like kind of raised my voice a little bit, dude. So Colonel Tucker, the guy that's in charge of the whole thing, was like, hey. He's like, who are you? He's like, come here.
Yeah, it's almost like getting loud in the library.
Yeah.
You're gonna draw attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a quiet space.
He's like, come here. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, my name's Lance Corporal Bell. I got medevac. I'm 2nd Force Recon. I'm trying to get back to my platoon. Me with my half paralyzed face and, all completely soiled uniform. And he's like, are you supposed to be at the hospital? Every single, are you supposed to be at the hospital? He goes, look, we're going to get you back to your platoon. He goes, I'm going to put you on a convoy for a medical resupply convoy tomorrow. But he goes, but you're going to have to pass a physical before you get on.
Get the fuck out of here.
You're going to have to pass a physical before you get on my convoy.
Holy shit.
And I was like, yes, sir. He goes, it leaves at 7 a.m, be out front. I was like, yes, sir. Thank you. I scurried out of there. Couldn't get out of there fast enough. And then I went and got my clean camis. And then and this is kind of weird, but like I went back in my tent and like we had all packed up our gear because they were like, hey, people are going to get killed.
Yeah, don't, right.
And they're like, pack up all your gear. So we already had all of our personal effects like packed up. And so I went back in my tent and it was just like empty. And like, I've never really been like this. Like I'm pretty much a loner, but like I did not want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in that tent and the empty tent and I was like, I don't want to be alone. And so I went to the supply tent. And I literally was just like, told the dudes, I was like, hey guys, I don't want to, can I stay with you guys tonight? Like a little kid, like, can I come stay the night at your house?
Yeah.
And they were super cool. They gave me 2 MREs and we watched the Goonies. And I just passed out. And I remember whenever I woke up the next morning, they were like, dude, you must have been tired. I was like, yeah, pretty tired. Go get in the medical resupply convoy. Didn't ever have to take the physical. The physical thing never came up. And I'm like, okay, we're almost back to Fallujah. I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. It's kind of a crazy story. We're like, all right, almost back to Fallujah. They pull off at like the last exit, and they drop me off at this battalion aid station, the same one that they had sent me to. So like that medical resupply convoy went to that battalion aid station. It wasn't going to Fallujah. So
motherfucker.
So that's what I'm saying, motherfucker. I mean, I'm like a mile away. Like I'm there. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like we said, one problem at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around and I see a Hummer with like a bunch of antennas, and I'm like, okay, someone important's over there. And so I wander over there, and there's like the poor driver, radio operator dude, and I just kind of scooted him out of the way. I was like, excuse me, private. I was like, I need your radio, and I just start thumbing through this dude's radio looking for
your channel.
Freak. Because I was going to talk to my platoon and be like, hey, where y'all at? Like, come get me. Give me a ride, What's up? I didn't know what I was going to do. But I knew if I wanted to make contact with my platoon. And this dude comes up behind me. He's like, hey, devil dog. I turn around. This guy's name's Sergeant Major Bell.
Mm.
Well, he's he's RCT 7 Sergeant Major. So he's out there doing Sergeant Major things, devil dogging people. And I was like, oh, hey, Sergeant Major. My name's Lance Corporal Bell.
Yeah, the whole spiel.
Yeah. And he's like, you supposed to be at the hospital.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
He goes, wait right here. He goes off. He comes back. He goes, do you know how to run a 240? I was like, hell yeah, I know how to run a 240. The pig? I was like, yes, I know how to run a 240. He's like, all right, you're going to ride in the turret, and we're going to get you into town. I was like, yes.
Fucking A, dude.
So cruise on into town. At the last moment, he exits. He doesn't go into the city. Sergeant Major Bell's not going in the city. They dropped me off with a striker platoon, and they actually drove me to my team. And I got reunited with my platoon, and it was very amazing. It was like a big celebration because, the last thing they knew, I was like in and out of consciousness, bleeding all over the place. And I had been medevaced with Dave, who was dead. So it was like a extraordinary celebration when I got back. That was a cool moment. That was like one of those moments of my life.
Oh,
like,
dude. It's fucking crazy. Yeah.
And people just can't believe that I literally like broke out of a hospital and hitchhiked my way back to Fallujah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People are like, what?
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Yeah. And it's so.
I was like, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do it. Like if you would have put me on a plane and sent me to Germany over a broken jaw and some cracked teeth, like, oh, I would never forgive myself.
Mm-hmm. And people need to like. It's not a super common story, but there's plenty of dudes out there that figure out a way. You know what I mean? Like, I won't name any names, and obviously it's their story to tell. But yeah, it's you find a way, right? And it's like thinking about it now, like had it not been like that was just a perfect storm.
Yeah,
because you were able to, find your way, so to speak, because everyone else was worried about something else, right? Where in normal circumstances,
they pay attention to you.
You fucking never would, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's like me getting kicked off the mute. They're like, "What do you mean they just left you in Thailand?" I'm like, boop, boop, "Yeah, that's what happened." You know what I mean? Like they're like, "That's fucking bananas." I'm like, "Well, that's just what happened." You know, and under normal circumstances, there was, that's unheard of. You know. But I made my way back. I figured it out. You figured it out, right?
It was super fun. And it's a great story.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, dude.
And I'm really proud of myself for doing it because, like, I feel like being courageous in a moment or like displaying like physical courage, like you do deserve respect for that. But I feel like that's almost more of like an instinct or a compulsion that you don't really have like a choice over. Mm-hmm. Whereas like me going back into that city, that was a conscious decision to go put myself squarely in the most dangerous spot that I could possibly be. Mm-hmm. And I did it on purpose. And again, I'm not, like physical courage that occurs like quickly where you make an instinctive decision and you're like, people are like, oh, that was pretty brave. I'm like, well, I didn't know what else to do.
I didn't have to think about it.
I literally didn't even think about it. But this was like so I'm always like, that's kind of cool to know that I'm.
It's fucking very legit.
The kind of person that'll do something like that.
It's legit as fuck, man. I mean, it's those are the greatest stories of all. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, wait, he did what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like I said, and the coolest thing about it is there were probably heads rolling in your wake, so to speak. I'm like, where'd that fucking Marine
at that
go?
hospital,
if you retrace the breadcrumbs, there were people getting their asses handed to them left and probably, you know what I mean?
You lost a Marine.
Yeah, he was
not even on patrol. Yeah. You just lost him.
Yeah, yeah. Where did he go? Yeah. It's the same guy that snuck out of the aircraft.
Yeah. He's at it again.
Yeah. This guy's a menace. Yeah.
He is a menace.
Oh, fuck, dude. Well, it's so you get back to the platoon, and then they, of course, I'm sure they're like, "Where the fuck? Okay, glad you're back. Let's get back to work."
Well, and this is only that was the first morning of the battle that I got medevaced. I was gone like 24 hours, so I was back for the third day. So I only really missed one day, and so I mean they still weren't even halfway through the city. There was tons of more, and so really it was all divided up into phase lines and objectives. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to take the city, but we wanted to preserve the infrastructure of the city as well. In terms of like the municipal buildings, the waterworks, the bridges, the churches, it needed to still be a city when we were done, basically. So it would always be like phase lines, like, okay, now we're going to go to the municipal building. Now we're going to go to the mayor's complex. And with us, we would kind of like punch out ahead of everybody, get into an elevated position, and provide overwatch while the infantry units would just literally door to door to door to door to door, straight through the city, like lined up on the north side. Everybody get online, march through the city.
Yeah,
which I thought was insane. And I was so glad that that I was like in this unit that allowed me the opportunity to kind of like sneak around a little bit and like have a little bit of tact, have a little sense of discretion about how you're gonna get yourself in these situations. And you'd always get surprised, but really like that's really how you get killed in combat is like you get the jump on someone, they get the jump on you.
Sure.
Like, and so a lot of what you're doing is trying to avoid letting people get the jump on you, and it's easier to do that if you're in charge of your own locomotion, if you're in charge of where you're going. You don't let them get the jump. You get the jump on them. Whereas the infantry guys are like, okay, now we're going in this house. Okay, now we're going in that house. Okay, now we're going in that house. Just boom, 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 boom. But yeah, I mean, really, it was like exactly like the stories you hear. It was just like a lot of firefights, lots of bad guys, a lot of people just running around, raising hell. A lot of Marines getting shot. A lot of like, you'd hear stories, you know, like oh, you know, 1st Battalion, 8th Marines, Charlie Company, you know. You're like, what? Like, you just hear like just the stories of the things that people were doing. You're like, well, that's amazing. Like I can't believe that I'm like associated with these people. Like, I think I was like proud to be there, and I was like, wow, that's a legit battle. And then we just kind of fell into a rhythm. We'd fight during the daytime. Everybody would calm down at night. Everybody would just kind of chill out and go their own separate ways. And the battle went on they say the battle technically lasted 6 days. We were out there for a little longer than that. Once we reached our actual objectives, they started using us as so if someone would within our area, regimental RCT 7, if they would like lose momentum or whatever, they would take our platoon and they would send us and a tank and 2 troop carriers. So they would load our platoon up in 2 troop carriers and with a tank, and we were like this little task force that would go like regain initiative. So if some, you know, whatever, they were trying to get through an intersection and, you know, they had got bogged down. And part of combat too is maintaining that initiative, maintaining that momentum, maintaining that
pressure.
As soon as you lose that, as soon as it stops, like that's when people start dying. That's whenever people get put into positions and maybe start making bad choices. That's whenever the situation deteriorates. You know, as long as you're moving, you're in control. But anyways, what we would do is, which I thought was super cool, we would go and like regain the initiative, you know, and we'd bail out and go into some buildings and, you know, fix the problem. And then everybody would get up, start moving again, and we're like, all right, you know, good job, we fixed that. It just felt cool to be able to like feel like you had an effect on what was occurring.
Well, and that brings me to my next question. Like, what would you say? So after it was finished, and you know, when you say 6 days, like there's probably some people that are like, well, that's not that long. 6 days is a fucking eternity.
Especially if you're not. And again, we were fighting for longer than that. We were out there for about 2 weeks, but the battle was officially over in 6 days. But it's nonstop.
Yeah, that's an eternity.
It's so physically and mentally taxing. It's such a tremendous amount of stress. It's just an incredible environment to be in for a sustained combat operations. Like real live war, like people shooting and killing each other.
I just can't stress enough the amount of time that actually is in that environment. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, and I know I don't have to tell you. You know what I mean? Obviously, like that is.
Well, and you saw. Unfortunately, I did see it break people, and it was the time. It was the prolonged exposure, and it was just too much. Like saw a dude have a nervous breakdown, like straight up. You know, this dude's like big, tough, badass dude. You know, just melted, just like came apart. And I mean, I'm talking like weird nervous breakdown, like picking his skin off of his lips and just like staring at the wall and just being like
condition black.
Yeah, like my whole life, all I've ever wanted to do is do this, and now I'm here, and all I want to do is not be here. Like, I mean, like mumbling to himself, like
You're like,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
and I don't judge that guy. You know, I don't. You know, I feel bad for him. Really, even when it was happening, I felt bad for him. I was like, well, you need to get the fuck out of here, because this is not the spot for you right now.
Yeah, you are not part of the solution right now.
And I feel bad for you, but go to the back.
Yeah, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, but again, this guy wasn't a weak guy, you know. But
and you just I understand. You just never know, dude. You never know. I had a similar experience where this guy was a Somali veteran, and he would let you know. You know what I mean? And then this one particular scenario where he was it was his time to shine, and he cracked like a fucking egg, and I was not having it. I was like, you know what, dude?
Not now.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, I won't go into gory details, but I was so mad. I was so disgusted with his reaction that he no longer existed to me.
Yeah.
Like the end, and finally the platoon sergeant who I was associated with, because obviously as a sniper I was tasked out, this platoon sergeant finally came over after a couple of days, and he was like, I mean, this guy would speak to me and I would just like,
not gonna acknowledge you.
You don't exist. If you're gonna act like that, if that's what you're gonna do when it counts, you're fucking dead to me, right? And finally the platoon sergeant came over and he was like, hey, look, hey, shitbird. He always called me shitbird or secret squirrel. He's like, hey man, he goes, you got to talk to that guy. Like, you're making it worse. Like he knows he fucked up. He knows whatever. He's like, but he goes, because everybody's looking at you.
Yeah.
And how you're handling that dude's, mistake, basically, But and I wasn't proud of, you know what I mean? That was just how I reacted at the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey man, we don't, there's no time for this,
I was very principled when I was young. So like, I had like a very like rigid belief system. And as soon as he behaved in that way, and again, I was being a little more compassionate. I don't want to embarrass anybody but I was in the same boat, and I was just kind of like disgusted. Like I didn't want to catch it, whatever he had.
Right.
Like get it away from me.
Yeah. Like, how is that even possible?
And then years later, this is so crazy. That dude actually came to me and like wanted me to like validate how he had performed in combat. And I thought, I don't respect this guy at all from like how he behaved. But I was like, do I care? Like, is it worth it to like hurt his feelings? Like, do I want him to go shoot himself because of And I was like, dude, you did great. Like, you did the best you could. We all did the best we could. Like, we were in a crazy situation. Like, you're just fine. Like, it just wasn't worth it to me at that point in my life to like rub his nose in it. Whereas at the time I was just like, ew, like crap.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because you just never know, right? You never everyone's got a meter. You never know when it's going to get pegged.
But that prolonged exposure,
for sure,
it started breaking people. And it also made some people just turn into this like, there is like an element of mean, and I know it sounds insane to say, but once you see people start getting really mean, like, and not actually like,
you lose your humanity.
But it's, and they're trying to stay alive. They're seeing their friends get killed. They don't want to killed, and they develop this like, I don't think hatred is the right word, but they just develop this like, they dehumanize the people you're fighting. And it just makes people mean quick, makes them real mean, real quick.
It's a very dark place.
It's a very dark place, yeah. Like you said, you left like Barnes. And so you kind of watch that occur. That didn't happen a whole lot with the raids. It really, toward the end of deployment, we were all pretty salty and mean. But it did happen in Fallujah. You saw people just kind of deteriorate into this like... this
animalistic... Yeah.
Very mean, very quick on the trigger. Very quick to do whatever they had to do. Which, just a few days before, that person would have displayed a much more thoughtful approach to some of the problems we were having to solve.
Oh, it happens quick.
But, it happens super quick. And so that was kind of astonishing. And I've always been like a sociologist at heart and just a bit of a psychologist at heart. And so it was fascinating to watch the transition occur. And I don't know, like, I felt kind of separated from it all in some weird way. Like, I felt like an observer almost. Like, I don't ever remember me personally being like too super stressed out or like super. I was like I felt like I was watching it all happen. And I was just really paying attention. And I think I was learning about myself through other people's behavior. And
oh, sure.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to act like that.
Oh, without a doubt.
I don't want to lose my humanity. I don't want to disrespect myself by losing respect for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm some righteous person because I'm obviously not.
I completely understand. Yeah.
But I had a standard for myself, and I was like, I don't want to lose my humanity. I don't want to do that. I was like, I think you're psychologically damaging yourself if you allow yourself. I don't think you can visit that place too often, and you're going to have to pay a price for that.
Yeah, none of it's free.
Yeah, none of it's free.
None of it's free.
Yeah.
I told my guys as the chief scout, I was like, hey, there's two things that I better never hear, of happening.
Yeah.
One, taking pictures of corpses,
Nope.
like their trophies. I was like,
I hated that. I'm so glad you.
This is a game, and they lost.
Yeah,
let them lose with dignity. Like,
that's it.
Don't dishonor yourself by.
That's how I said. I'm like, you're disrespecting yourself by doing that.
Yep.
You just took a picture with that dead body like it's a deer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, fuck, dude.
I hated that. I fucking hate it. And I would tell people.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
And the second thing, obviously being in a sniper platoon, I was like, we have ROEs. You better follow them. If I hear of anybody, take it, don't let me hear it.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't let it happen.
Don't do it. Don't do it because it may be okay at the time, or at least you've justified that in your head because there is that bloodlust, right? You know what I'm saying? But that's a stain, like you go stay within the ROEs and hey, all this shit, there's plenty of time to think about it afterwards, ask us how we know, right? But doing something that for kicks, so to speak,
you're going to pay the price.
You're going to pay the price for the rest of your life.
I mean, I had a friend, like, it was one night, a guy in our platoon got killed, and one of my friends, we were on a raid, guy got killed, shit went south, and, I mean, he was doing something to one of the detainees.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into any details, but I remember I walked up to him, and I just, like, put my hand on his shoulder, and I was like, hey, like, you're going to pay the price for that. I was like, stop. Like, don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he stopped. And I was like, but the point that I was making was like, look, you're punishing yourself right now. You're going to carry that memory with you forever.
Yeah, you're going to regret it.
You're going to regret it. Mm-hmm. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I always said like a big part of my problem in the Marine Corps was like my maturity, but I was really kind of proud of the way that I looked at things like that. Like, I don't know why I had that ability as a young man to think that way. Well, I think part of it was self-preservation. I was preserving my own psychology. I was preserving my own soul, my own heart. Mm-hmm. I was guarding my heart. I was taking care, and I just had a realization of like, hey, yeah, we're here to do. This is a very serious thing. It's gory business, but there's a right way to do it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I had a saw gunner in my team in Baghdad, and we had been up on that rooftop for days, and it was kind of dying down. And he was a saw gunner in the team. Great guy. I lost track of him. God, what I wouldn't give to link back up with him. But he's like, hey, Sergeant V. He goes, can I get on? Because he was going to go to sniper school when we got back.
Yeah.
He goes, can I get on the gun for a little bit? I was like, yeah. I go, yeah, man. I said, yeah, let's go over here and look across the Tigris. And I said, well, you can get on the gun, just see what's up, And he's like, I got one, and I was like, you're shitting me. And of course, it's like, anywhere from 800 to 900 yard shot, from our position to across the Tigris. And I was like, okay, talk me on. And I had the binos up, and he goes, that guy right there, that guy that's on his front porch, he goes, he's got an RPG, leaned up against the door jamb there. And I'm scanning, and I'm like, all right, talk me out again. I don't see him, And then I see the guy that he's talking about. And he's just, kind of leaned up against, like smoking a cigarette. And behind him, it's not an RPG, it's a broom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I won't say the kid's name, but he's like, you see him? And I was like, yeah, I see him. I go, where's the RPG? He goes, it's right behind him. And I just looked out of the binos, and I looked down at him. And I won't say his name, but I was like, hey. And, he kind of looked up out of the scope, and I was like, hey, man, that's a broom. And he's like, you don't see that RPG? I go, it's a broom. I was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, and he kind of got off the gun,
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, I'm doing you a favor right now.
Yeah.
You know, I said, there will be plenty of time.
There'll be
for
plenty
that.
of real ones. Like,
Don't
worry.
worry. Yeah. You know, don't sacrifice your soul.
Yeah.
You know, any more than you have to in this place. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's good mentorship. You know, obviously, and I know we're not patting each other on the back, but it lends to the point of how easily people can get there.
Yeah. And these are good people.
100%.
They're not bad. These aren't bad people.
No, it's like the I hate to use movies because it's cliche, but like that movie Fury, you know, the tank movie where he's like, wait till you see, and the new kid's like, see what? He goes, see what a man can do to another man.
Yeah.
You know, like when I watched that movie, I was like, ugh, you know what I mean? I was like, that's true. Like
true.
it gets fucking dark real quick.
It does. It
You know,
absolutely does.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
Well, but honestly, like, not to get too esoteric or philosophical, but that's why we love war, because it's the distillation of the human experience. Like, you get every element of like the human experience condensed down into this like concentrated version. And so you can learn a lifetime worth of things
very quickly.
And you see the darkest moments, you see the most beautiful moments, you see, you know, heroism, you see people maintain their dignity, you see people lose their dignity, you see, you know, and it's I say it all the time, it's the human condition distilled down into like a concentrated essence.
Into its purest form. Yeah, man, it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? And having conversations like this, like I think is what's most beneficial is, you know, it's like the movies in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it isn't. You know what I mean? And for future generations, you know, because peace isn't breaking out anytime soon. You know, I think these long form conversations, like, hey, man, it's I don't want to say careful what you wish for, but at least go into it with both eyes wide open. You know, there's never going to be a shortage of young American men, hopefully, men and women who want to go chase that dragon. You know, that's just part of the American youth culture, and I hope it stays that way. But none of it's free, you know, in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Know what you're getting into.
Exactly.
You know, and I thought about this a lot when I was over there too, is like, I would be in a situation, and like, I remember one time I walked up on the roof of a building, there was some bad guys, and there was an infantry marine who was like crouched down behind the parapet, just like eyes like wide open. And I was like, this poor guy. I was like, he's like 18 years old. Like, he was probably literally in high school last year. Me, I was so lucky. I had all this training, all these deployments, shooting pack. Like, I was like, couldn't have been more prepared. And so I walk up on that roof, and I you know, see some bad guys, and you know, I snap the gun up and start shooting. And I look at him, I'm like, hey, you can shoot too. I was like, you can, you know.
Come on, little buddy.
Come on, little buddy. But again, I say this to say, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, don't put yourself in a situation that you're not built for. Like, you may want to like tell your friends you're tough, and you may want to try to convince people that you're something. You know inside if you're that person or not. Don't do it. If you know that you should be a mechanic, go be a mechanic.
Fucking A. We need mechanics.
And be the best mechanic.
Yeah,
but
I'm not one.
But don't put yourself in that situation, because you're gonna find out. You're like, oh God, I'm not built for this. And that's whenever you're gonna suffer the damage. That's whenever you're gonna really experience a ton of psychological damages. You get put in situations you're just not built for. And be honest. So it all comes down to just being honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself. You know inside if you belong there or not. Don't do it. You know. Yeah, it's you're gonna hate it. You're gonna have a nervous breakdown. I you know what? Countless conversations like this, and you know, like I used to say, I'm like, this never crossed your mind. Yeah. Like, it never crossed your mind that it wasn't going to be awesome, or that it, you know, it wouldn't work out in your favor. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying like I had it all figured out. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying like it was, to your point, it was very, very interesting to see how it affected people in different ways, right? Because nobody walks out of it, you know, squeaky clean and unscathed, right? But the amount of, like you said, the amount of baggage or damage, I think, is a direct result in, you know, one, that personal self-assessment, and, you know, how often you've kind of had this movie playing in your head, you know? And we had the luxury, like you said, like I think I was into my second enlistment, I think, you know, or just shy, you know,
2 units, lots of training, like I felt very, very comfortable, as comfortable as you could be in that environment, right?
It helps. It makes a huge
It
difference.
makes a huge difference, right? Versus
18 years old.
18 years old and 3 months later, I said, like, I had that conversation with my old man who did 3 tours in Vietnam, and I was like, how long was your, like, training? And he was like, what are you talking about? He goes, other than boot camp? He goes, yeah, we spent 2 weeks of jungle training.
I remember this. He was like, we did jungle training. And you're like, well, what kind of jungle training could you have
California.
done? Yeah. I remember you were like, tell me about this jungle training.
It blew
He's like,
my mind.
we're patrolling around and, shoot. Like,
what the fuck?
They just sent him right to Vietnam.
Yeah, just there you go. You'll figure it out.
Good luck, buddy.
And so, yeah, it's very interesting to kind of watch, how it affects different people, purely because I did a fair amount of obviously observing myself. You have that elevated position, so to speak, and you kind of get to watch and see what's going on, and especially with that high-powered optic, you kind of get a front row seat to whatever you want, and yeah, very, very interesting, dude. Very, very interesting. Some people shine, some people hide under their helmets, so to speak, and I don't fault anybody for any of it anymore. I used to.
Me too. Like I said, I was very principled whenever I was young, and now, like, I don't really judge people for much because I've made enough mistakes, and I know that I've let people down, and honestly, people are doing the best they can, with what they have.
Yeah.
And I don't harbor any resentment. I don't harbor, and when I was younger, I did. Like, I would personally judge people by how they behaved
100%.
in combat. I thought it was a direct reflection of their character.
Yeah.
And again, the older I've gotten, I'm like, no, that's what happened to them at that point in time. Like, it's not who they are, and at least I don't have to form my opinion of them around that. And I don't have to have a strong opinion one way or another. I can just realize, like, people do what people do. Like,
yeah.
And none of it really surprises me anymore. Like, good, bad, or otherwise. Like, not a lot surprises me because you just don't know what people are going to do.
Yeah, and it's immense. Like, I don't want to, like I said, I've seen this before. Like, I've seen that, been there, done that. It's not what I'm saying. But when you've seen that kind of that much, in that condensed time period, you get, it's a lot, and you're like, okay, you can kind of, like, we had this guy whose resume was as thick as a phone book. And we were getting ready to go out and do something, and it was, I'll call it hot, you know what I mean? We were very reactive to something that was going on. And based off this guy's resume, he should have been, quote unquote, leading the charge.
Yeah, we got Jason Bourne over here.
And man, I walked up to this dude to give him basically a grid location. I was like, hey, I'm going to be right behind you, but you're, and he was so fucking amped up that he had lost dexterity and he couldn't type in the, type the grid into the GPS. Yeah. And I was kind of like, I'm looking at this guy. What is happening right now? I'm like, hey, man, like, in my head, I'm like, none of us are on fire right now. You know what I mean? Like, everything is fine. Yeah. We're going to some place where it's not fine.
Yeah.
But after I watched him fumble fuck it for a couple seconds, I just went and pulled out a pencil and piece of paper and handed it to the guy sitting next to him. I said, write this down, punch this in. You know what I mean? Kind of like, you need to take a time out. And I took him out of the truck.
Take a breather.
Yeah, just go take a breather, dude. Like, you're overstimulated.
Yeah, let's reset.
And I didn't shame him or shun him or anything. Yeah. I just, hey, man, you're not up to this right now.
Yeah.
Just go chill out, and that happens. You know what I mean? Luckily, we were in a situation where we were able to kind of call that audible, so to speak, right? But you just never know. Because like I said, phone book, this guy's resume.
Done it all.
So you just never know, man. You just never know. Well, obviously, gleaning all of that, transition me and the audience into your business and the entrepreneurship that you endeavored as soon as you got done.
Well, I think I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial mindset. I think that comes with growing up on a ranch. So basically, if you're a ranch, like it is an operation. It is like a small, business to a degree, I guess. And well, one thing I'll say, like, I had some lessons to learn when I transitioned, and I advise people. I tell them this advice all the time. It took me way too long to learn this. I got out of the military thinking that I had valuable skill sets. Like I thought that because I could do these things that were supposed to be really difficult and I could do them at a really high level, I thought that that meant that I was like actually going to be valuable in the workplace. And not just that, I thought that I had like a superiority complex. I was like, oh, nobody can do what I just did. Like I'll be able to, this will be so easy for me.
Sure.
And they're like, hey, like, can you build an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Can you send an email?
Can you do anything? And the answer is no, because I wasn't like a fully formed human. I was a Marine. That's all I was good at. That was the only thing I was good for, was doing Marine Corps stuff. And I just had such a chip on my shoulder that I thought I was like owed a lot of like opportunities that people had spent their whole lives getting ready for. Like they went and got educated, and then they went and got a job somewhere, and then they learned all of these things that they needed to learn. So I do tell people, I'm like, look, when you get out of the Marines, like realize like what you don't know, or with the military, realize what you don't know, and just give it time and develop marketable skill sets. Get training, get an education, put yourself in an environment where you can learn. Don't expect that because you were some like special guy somewhere, everybody's mom loves them too.
Yeah.
Develop actual skill sets that make you, valuable. And, so I, kind of rocking along, and I, got an education, and then got into sales really, kind of early on. And then sales is where I really just kind of found my like home. I'm like, okay, this is what I can make a career out of doing. This is a valuable skill set. I felt like I was serving a role, like, the stuff has to get sold, and I learned, I know how to do it. Sales really lends itself to entrepreneurship. It's a pretty easy transition. So yeah, like when I was in college, I founded a nonprofit called the Turbulent Veterans Association, and it's a nationally recognized chapter of the Student Veterans of America. And I'm really proud. We took that thing from nothing. Literally founded it, wrote the charter. Founded it, and I was president of that for 3 years. And running a nonprofit, it's a lot like running a business. There's a lot of bureaucracy to deal with. There's a lot of admin to deal with, personnel issues, money to keep track of. But I really kind of enjoyed that. And I've always kind of stayed like in the nonprofit space. I'm always like loosely affiliated, or like helping other people found nonprofits, or I'm on the board of a couple organizations. And again, I was like, yeah, I should start a business. And so I opened up a gun store. Did that for 5 years. Quit my sales job. Ran a gun store, and it was great. But again, like we were talking earlier, I really should have thought my way through it a little bit more, because be careful what you wish for. I was working retail, like I was, it was my business, and it was doing great, and I was running a cash register for a living, and I was like, God, I hate this. And so I got rid of that, wrapped that whole thing up, got everything sold off, and then went back into sales. And but I approached my job with like an owner's mindset. A guy gave me some really good advice when I was young, because he could tell, I've always been kind of independent and everything like that. He's like, look, you're going to do great here. You're going to do wonderful things here. He goes, I want you to learn the rules, and I want you to be your own boss. And that just like really stuck with me. And I've always done that in any environment that I'm in. I try to become like an expert in the ecosystem. Like I'm like, okay, this is the programs that we use. This is the nomenclature that we use at this business. And I just try to learn all that, and then learn the rules, and be my own boss. So even if I am working for somebody, I still approach it with like a founder's mentality. And it served me well.
Nice, dude. Yeah. So in the non-for-profit stuff, because you said you had a hand in or you were involved with the Recon Sniper Foundation.
Yeah, the Recon Sniper Foundation. I've been working with those guys since the very beginning, like since they very first started. And that's an incredible organization. Raises a ton of money, do a lot of good things for a ton of veterans. Obviously, they're mostly focused on the the reconnaissance and the sniper communities. And there's they have they have a parachute team, they have a competitive shooting team, they have a jiu-jitsu team, what they're doing is they want guys to be able to transition out of the military and have another mission. They want them to be healthy. At the end of the day, they care about their brothers and sisters, and they want them to be healthy. And so they, put them in a situation where they can have like a group like, oh, you're into USPSA. We'll join our Recon Sniper Foundation USPSA club. We'll get you a jersey and everything. And it's a really cool organization. It really is.
Yeah, I've obviously heard nothing but good things. Obviously we know a lot of the same people that are involved with it, and it looks like they're doing awesome.
They're doing great. They're crushing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to those guys for doing it right.
And I'm friends with a lot of the guys over at the Reconnaissance Foundation. It's a much older organization, and those guys are great too. I'm friends with a lot of their board members. They do great work too. So both of those organizations are pretty cool. I definitely worked with RSF a lot closer, and was pretty well tied in with stuff they're doing for years.
Good. It's so nice to see those. Obviously I'm not talking shit on the American Legion or the VFW or the whatever, but like I see all that because obviously they serve a purpose, and I'm members of both. But it's awesome to see all of these kind of independent, foundations that are being, stood up in the wake of the global war on terror, to where guys finding, that continued purpose or that continued mission.
That's what it's all about.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, so, I try and donate, sign up, be a member, whatever, however you can. And obviously shout out to all those guys and women that are involved with those, because it's a much needed, mission.
It makes a difference.
For sure. It
makes a difference.
Well, tell me about your company. Tell me about the,
Yeah, so right now I'm the director of sales for a company called Kovix, and we manufacture silencers. So we're based out of Lake Norton, South Dakota, and it's a premium outdoor brand. Basically, we have the goal of becoming the most respected outdoor brand in America within 10 years. The first products that we're offering are a line of silencers. They're ultra lightweight, ultra durable titanium silencers. So historically, with silencers, you could have really lightweight, or you could have really durable. Well, we have some pretty unique design features that allow us to have both. So not only are they like best in class in terms of like weight and like performance and things like that, but we have like no minimum barrel ratings, no caliber restrictions, and all that's backed up with a no questions asked warranty. So not only are we saying, hey, this thing is super light and ultra durable, we're going to back it with a no questions asked warranty. And really, the products they're great, no doubt about it. But what we're really doing is we're trying to create an elevated experience in this space, in the suppressor category. So, and we do all that with every interaction that the customer has is exceptional. So I'm obsessed with providing an exceptional experience at every interaction. What does that mean? That means their first exposure is going to be through social media. Well, we've got the best looking social media of any gun company you could imagine. They go to our website. It's the classiest website. You get your hands on the packaging. You feel like you're opening a box of jewelry. You're like, this is the nicest silencer box I've ever seen. The products themselves, they have a very subdued, refined aesthetic, a very understated like form of elegance to them. Its products are great, and then we provide world-class customer service. So none of those things seem that extraordinary, but whenever you add it all together, it creates this elevated experience, and there is a market for that. People are craving like something better. They're like, man, it seems like you could just do it like a little bit nicer. Like I want to have a warm and fuzzy feeling whenever I associate myself with this company.
Yeah, sure, 100%. You're, an experience with the purchase, so to speak. Yeah,
and I say all the time, adventure is like the highest form of luxury, and like we all want stories to tell. So at Kovix, we want to be a part of the stories that are told around the campfire. Like we want to be a part of that adventure. We want to be we want to be there whenever those memories are made. We want to be a crucial, integral element in this amazing tale of adventure that you've gone on. And, I say all the time, I'm like, we don't sell the plane ticket. I was like, you sell someone the destination, they have to buy the plane ticket from you, right? And so like we're selling the plane ticket, but what we're actually selling is the story, is the destination, is the adventure. That's a long way to say I sell silencers for a living, but it's we've got our own kind of refined, elevated touch on it.
Can you do anything about the shithole state that I occupy that doesn't allow them?
So,
like, damn it.
Well, you could join the American Suppressor Association. The American Suppressor Association is the most effective lobbying organization for the silencer industry. They've done a lot of good work, and just like the short amount of time that I've kind of been associated with them, I'm a member. They've got silencers legalized in more states, so they're legal in 42 states now. And just a few years ago, you could only hunt in like 19 or 20 states with silencers. Now I think we're up to like 41 of the 42 states you can hunt in. So really being a part of those organizations does help. It's called the American Suppressor Association.
It's interesting. That's something I'll definitely look up.
It is a lobbying organization, and I tend to be kind of cynical in terms of like politics and things like that. Like I don't really expect much out of anybody. And so it's been cool to see these lobbying organizations actually be effective, and not in some like abstract way. I mean, I sell silencers for a living, and I've been selling silencers for a long time, and so it's cool. Like, oh, that actually directly impacts my life. So like the $200 tax is going away, starting. So if you've purchased an NFA item, you have to pay $200
tax stamp.
Tax stamp. That's going away as of like January 1st. There's no more $200. That's the results of lobbying efforts. That wasn't just some good-hearted politician deciding like, oh, let's give the people some money back in their pocket. They don't care. And it's because this lobbying organization, made the case for why this tax should go away and ran it through all the right channels, and it's gone. And got the law changed. Yeah,
and obviously your finger's way on the pulse. Mine is just kind of like, every now and again I'll kind of peek my head up and go, oh, it's up for vote again. You know what I mean? And obviously for Illinois, it never passes, and who knows if it ever will. Right. Yeah. But it's always, it's always one of those like, man, like it's, why not? You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so many.
Because of all the people in Cook County.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's
that's where you.
Why not, man?
Well, it's a safety device. It's a
correct.
It's hearing protection is what it is.
Yeah, it's what I would. Yeah. Now I don't even want to look. I don't want to look at something if it's not canned.
No.
If it's not suppressed.
No.
What do we say? Like, why are you being so uncivilized?
So
shooting
gross.
loud.
not doing it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well. Jimmy, tell everybody where to find you, where to find the company, if people want to look you up, where can they find you?
So Kovix, Kovix.com. Great website. We're on all the socials. You can just look Kovix .inc on Instagram, but on like LinkedIn, Facebook, everything else is just Kovix, Kovix. I have a personal Instagram. It's Big Smashin'. I'm always up to make friends with people, and things are kind of what you make it. I have a great time on social media. I mean, I found you on social, reached out to you. So I'm always kind of good on, fostering relationships, but I'm on Instagram. It's Big Smashin'. That was actually my nickname in the Marines.
I get it.
There was a funny story behind that, but I was like, man, I kind of hit the jackpot with the nicknames because you don't always get to make up your own.
No, you do not.
You actually never get to make your nicknames given to you. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool nickname. But yeah, I'm a Big Smashin' on Instagram. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, man, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to continue this.
Cool.
And we're gonna have Chris on here pretty soon, and I'm sure we're gonna.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Barrel of laughs.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Jimmy, thank you. I really appreciate you coming and making the trip. And
thank you.
It's been an honor, man. Let's go get you fed.
Let's do it.
All right, brother. Thanks. See you, everybody. Stay mobile.